Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live watch along where we'll be watching Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi. I'm joined here with Akton Tamko. Thank you so much for joining.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this. So I got my bottle of scotch here. I'm ready to take a shot every time a stormtrooper misses somebody, or every time somebody says I have a bad feeling about. Oh wait, this is the drinking game. Okay, sorry.
No.
We could do a Star Wars drinking game. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this rewatch. I just literally 2 hours ago finished rewatching The Force Awakens. And I had gone in a row, all 7 of them in a row in order, and I just finished Force Awakens. So I'm all pumped. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for The Last Jedi.
I was too lazy to do that. I just watched Force Awakens with Darren this week, and then so just the newer trilogy. So Force Awakens last week, this week Last Jedi, and next week Rise of Skywalker. But I've seen, I think, I don't want to say last year, maybe the year before, for May the 4th, I watched all the Star Wars movies. Yeah. I did the Machete Order. Have you heard of the Machete Order?
Yes, but remind me what it is.
So you watch A New Hope. Yeah, you watch A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Then you watch Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And then you watch Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and why is that? What's the logic behind that?
So the logic behind that is that you get the actual beginning the way it was intended with Luke and everyone, and then you get hints of Vader's backstory. You get the big reveal at the end of Empire, I am your father, and then you go back and you see how Anakin became Darth Vader, and then you get the conclusion where Anakin, Skywalker, and Luke come together.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it kind of sort of didn't work. I mean, I think I've seen these movies so many times where it didn't make a difference.
I don't know. I feel like that would make more sense if you left out Attack of the Clones and just watch Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
why do you need Attack of the Clones?
They left out Phantom Menace. So, and I got to tell you, going from Empire to Attack of the Clones, boy, howdy.
Well, I will tell you, I have... during my reviews, I haven't posted anything beyond episode 4 yet. I'm working on it. I finished Empire Strikes Back review, but I haven't posted it yet. But during my reviews, Empire Strikes Back to me is would be my highest rated, my favorite Star Wars movie, and Attack of the Clones will be my worst, least favorite. So for me to get that would be like for me going from my favorite to my least favorite, and it would be harsh.
So Darren agreed with you there, but actually, for me, Phantom Menace is the worst. So I'm glad it skipped on that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I watched them both back to back, and Phantom Menace is a close second. It's pretty bad. But I found Attack of the Clones to be worse because of the Hayden Christensen factor. He's just so bad in that movie.
All right, so that bleeds us into The Last Jedi. So anyone who watching this who's not familiar with our channels or our stances on Star Wars, if you're expecting us to come in here and shit all over this movie and talk about how Rian Johnson ruined our childhoods and how this defiled the legacy of Star Wars, then perhaps this may not be the video for you, because that's not what we're going to do. Both of us, to my knowledge, actually do like this movie, and if you disagree, that's fine. We're not going to be here to put anyone's opinions down or anything like that. Just letting you know, we're going to talk about our opinions of this movie, and we're pretty positive. What are your feelings about this movie?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I actually haven't seen this movie since the theater. I don't think I've ever rewatched it. Maybe I did once. But I remember walking away feeling pretty positive. There were some criticisms that I had. There was things that I didn't like, but overall, I felt pretty positive. And now, just having watched in order episodes 1 through 7, it really struck me just rewatching Force Awakens, just how superior it is to the prequels, particularly the first two, Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. Light years better. And I remember feeling that way about The Last Jedi too, and I have a feeling on this rewatch I will still feel that way after having seen Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I don't understand how anybody could possibly say The Last Jedi is worse than those? There's no way. It's not even close. So yeah, those are the bad movies. Those are the movies that almost, if anything, ruined my childhood. It was those, but it didn't ruin my childhood really. But, but if I were to say that about anything, it would be those two movies, not either The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. Definitely, I had some issues with it, as I'm sure we'll talk about as we go through it. But my overall feeling on it was positive.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like when this movie first came out. I went and rewatched my review of when this movie first came out, and I loved it. I thought it was the best thing ever. But my opinion has gone down since then. I have actually seen it again. I think I might have seen it a couple times actually. Yeah, I saw it twice in the theaters, and I watched it when I was living with this guy who hated this movie to death. So I watched it with him, so he could point out how much it totally sucks. And that was an interesting experience. And I think, even though there's a lot of points where I still disagree with those who despise this movie there's some points where they kind of swung me around to their side. So it'll be interesting to point those out as we go through. But anyway, now that the preamble, let's go ahead and start the movie. So I know China Chicken Kong Doomsday, you guys were here last week for Force Awakens, so you know how this works. But anyone else watching in the archives, basically get your Netflix, whatever DVD ready to go. Start it like right and press pause, like right at the very beginning, the 00 mark before the Lucasfilm logo comes up, before it comes up. So press pause, press play, then press pause immediately, and then I'm going to count us down, and as soon as we're ready to go, we'll all press play together. So, I mean, we'll roughly be around the same spot if we're all for or anything like that. And if you guys need a count, like check to see where we are in the movie, just let us know in the chat, and we'll let you know the little, what do they call that thing? The little running count number at the bottom. I don't know. Runtime thing, whatever it's called.
Little, the number of thingies at the bottom. Yeah,
the number of thingies.
Yeah.
Yeah, those who didn't get Abkin's joke at the start, last time we did a watch along like this together, it was a drinking game for Game of Thrones where we take a shot every time, like we could do like a season 8 one every time Jon Snow says, "I don't want it." But
I don't think I have enough alcohol.
I think you kind of have to be drunk to watch season 8.
Yeah.
If I ever watch it again. Oh God. Creepy Anakin. No bathroom breaks. No. Hold it. No. I think last time I took a bathroom break, but I just left the movie running while I went. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do otherwise. So, yeah, I anticipate that I will probably have to take a bathroom break.
I mean, we've seen this before, hopefully. Yeah. If you haven't seen this before, why are you watching us talk about it? But anyway. All right, it's cool. So hopefully you guys are all set up now. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's do the big countdown. So I'll go 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. Aha, Lucasfilm.
LTD. Okay. Right. What if we're off by like a nanosecond?
It doesn't matter.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
There was a couple times I did that. Wow, that's too loud. I can't hear. Turn my volume down. It's up all the way. Kind of shocks you though. The bang!
Yeah. Well, I've done this 7 times already in the last week, so I'm prepared to turn the volume down when it first comes on.
Yeah, I should have, but
yeah.
I wonder, like, because that 20th Century Fox thing before, it's almost part of the opening credits. It's like very iconic.
Yeah.
But now 20th Century Fox doesn't really exist anymore, does it? Or does it still exist, or it's just owned by Disney?
It's probably owned by Disney.
But it still exists. Because I wonder if they still call movies Fox movies, or if they just call them all Disney movies now.
Yeah. But the resistance has been exposed.
As the First Order speeds towards the rebel base, the brave heroes mount a desperate escape.
Yeah, I used to wonder what they were going to do for this scrolly text, but because it seems like we would have to take off the where the Force Awakens left off.
And they do with Rey, but so it must be like there's a time difference because all the shit seemed to happen with everyone else in between.
Yeah, because every other Star Wars movie, there's always some kind of time jump in between the movies.
Yeah, usually it's quite a big one, sizable one actually.
Yeah,
I think even Empire Return of the Jedi was like a 3-year jump or something, or at least a couple years.
No, it couldn't have been though. Actually, we'll talk about that in my Return of the Jedi review, which I haven't posted yet. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Luke at time should become a badass Jedi, and yet he didn't return to Dagobah to do that.
Yeah,
and not that much time has passed because Lando and Chewie had left, and they hadn't been gone for that long. So I don't know. But anyways,
let's talk about Hux. Like, I thought he was kind of a throwaway character. I don't really care about.
Which character are you talking about?
Hux.
Who's Hux?
The guy who's talking right now. General
Hux. I can't remember what his name was.
He was that throwaway you don't even remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And having just watched The Force Awakens, I kind of thought he was supposed to be like the Grand Moff Tarkin reboot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's a bit more goofy than that, though.
Yeah, I think that's what what they were going for.
A goofy version of Grand Moff.
Yeah.
And here's something we can talk about, because one of the main complaints a lot of people have about this film is the comedy. And that's, as I said, one of those complaints where I could not possibly disagree with more.
Yeah, like was this comedy in this film?
Yeah, because a lot of people think it's jarring, it's trying to be like Marvel movies, it's out of place, it's too modern, it ruins the movie.
Huh. That's interesting. Because that's what I think of the prequels, that they're trying too hard to be a comedy, like a slapstick comedy. That thought never occurred to me with either one of the sequels.
Well, see, a lot of people complain about this scene in particular, where Poe is like, "Oh, I'm going to put you on hold."
Oh, no. I think that's the kind of humor they would have in the originals, like somebody just being a smart ass. And Poe has been established in the first movie. He did that in the very, very beginning of Force Awakens, where he was like, "Should I talk first or should you talk?" When Kylo Ren had him.
Right, yeah.
He did it. That was one of his first lines. It was the very beginning of that movie. That's a part of his character. Were people complaining about it in The Force Awakens?
No, not really.
So why is it suddenly a problem here?
I didn't get that.
That's who it is. This is his character.
I actually loved this scene. I thought it was hilarious. And I got to be honest, like, I think the comedy in this film was probably the best of any Star Wars film.
Yeah,
I think.
they all try to have comedy.
And this blends more perfectly, especially way better than the prequels. Like, that's without question. Like, I think it's absolutely ridiculous to suggest this comedy is more jarring than the prequels.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely insane to tell you the prequels. All of a sudden, we're watching some slapstick cartoon, like some cartoon or something. And that's the comedy. And
I thought was totally within, as you said, totally within Poe's character. It makes sense for the story. Some people thought it was too modern to reference like it's a phone call, and I think he made a mother joke or something like that. But I don't think so.
Yeah. I think there are other instances where in the prequels and the sequels where they do make modern sort of references, but I can't think of the other ones right now.
Well, I know Han Solo references hell, which brings up all these questions. Do philosophical in the Star Wars universe? Do they believe in heaven or hell?
Yeah, that's your come on.
Yeah. I think those complaints would be on par with the complaints about the phone analogy.
Finn also referenced hell in the Force Awakens.
He did? Oh, right. See, I just watched Force Awakens last week, but I was talking over it just like I am now. So I missed a lot of the details.
Yeah. I may rewatch this after we do our discussion too, so I can watch it.
Actually hear what the hell they're saying.
Yeah.
A chance to take out a dreadnought.
A dreadlock? Oh no,
a dreadnought. It's like the super huge Star Destroyer, I guess.
Yeah. That is the thing one of the things that bother me about the sequels is everything is just bigger. Oh, look at this little Death Star. We have this huge Death Star that's 50 million times bigger.
Yes.
And the Star Destroyer is just bigger.
I ranted the hell about that last week. I was just ranting on about Star Killer Base. Hold on. I don't have the chat up. Sorry, so just forgive me. I'm going to mess around to get this chat up. Neglecting you guys. Let's see.
Cool steel.
And then we saw earlier Liza Aaron at the controls.
Oh, I switched the screen. I think I missed it.
Oh, you missed it? Oh, right. Yeah, and this has a really strong Star Wars feeling to me.
Yeah. People complain about this scene, don't they?
I don't know. I haven't heard them complain about this one in particular. But they might.
This is good. There were a couple of the attack scenes in the prequels, like at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, where it was kind of like your complaint about the finale of Discovery, where it was just too busy, like just ships flying everywhere really fast, and you couldn't keep track of what was going on. But this is fine.
China Chicken says Atkins' impressions are spot on. Did you just do an impression?
Did I just do an impression?
Or maybe he's referring to your
I think
videos.
I just repeated something that one of the Imperial dudes said.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know. My biggest complaint about Last Jedi is actually what it inherited from Force Awakens, which is a lack of world building. So that's my biggest complaint about these new trilogy is that they're just copy and paste the same world situation or political situations from the original trilogy without establishing it at all.
And that is going to be the main complaint that I'll make when I do get around to doing my review for Force Awakens is that I wish they hadn't done that. I wish that there was no First Order. I wanted to see a world with the New Republic, which there is sort of, but then they wipe it out. I didn't want to see a repeat of the same thing that we always did. I wanted to see that Luke had rebuilt the Jedis.
And they don't even establish the New Order very well, other than they're just evil in another empire, and that's it. So they're kind of the whole organization is like really flat and unexplored. And apparently they explore this and explain this a lot more in like novels, but that's bullshit. Yeah. You shouldn't. In the original trilogy, you didn't have to read novels to get they did a really good job within those 3 movies while while telling the story of world building and getting you know exactly what this deal is and who the Enterprise was.
Yeah.
Solo reviews, do you guys show screen? Well, we're not going to show the movie if that's what you're asking because I don't want to get copyright dinged. So you guys, you have to watch the movie on your own.
You're watching this yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this I found to be very interesting. I like this because they're doing something different that Star Wars hasn't done, which is having this unknown character play this huge role here, where like we're following her like she's a main character. And of course, we find out later that she is consequential because we meet her sister and all that, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, we don't usually like follow just some minor character like that.
And I thought this is like a really good death scene, and it's a really good scene for a character who's very minor and disappears, and it really sucked me into the movie when I first saw it. I have my biggest complaint is about the Poe storyline, but I think I might save that for later.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint about this film is the casino storyline.
Most people agree with that.
That is probably my number one complaint about this film in particular, because they go through all of that for nothing. But we haven't gotten to that yet, so I'll save that. Yeah,
I mean. Yeah, but the Poe storyline is something I actually was turned around, changed my opinion on, like a little bit. Yeah, a little bit to where I don't like it as much anymore. Where the casino thing is pretty obviously not very good.
Also, along the lines of the First Order and how I wish they hadn't had them, then they introduced this big villain, Supreme Leader Snoke, and we'll get to him later.
Yeah.
But, he was never really fully fleshed out either. He just dies. No. Remember all the theories about who he was?
No, it's absolutely ridiculous how many theory videos. I never watched it and paid any attention to it.
Yeah, but then he was just like, he just.
And then the biggest complaint about his death is that his character is never fleshed out, and he's just a generic Emperor ripoff.
Yeah, and I agree with that, actually.
But where the hell does Snoke come from? Apparently, it doesn't matter. He's just random. I do wonder if Rise of Skywalker is going to address that or some of these things.
Yeah,
because I don't know. A lot of people think
so. I hope they address it.
A lot of people think that Rian Johnson kind of took Abrams, like all the direction Abrams was going to go to, and be like, nah, fuck you, and went a totally different direction, did his own thing, and purposely like said, I'm going to undo this and undo that. And they're like, oh, so J.J. Abrams is going to do episode 9. Is he going to do the same thing? It's like, aha, I'm going to undo this and undo that. And I completely disagree with that interpretation. I think Johnson got the Last Jedi, Force Awakens script, and he took it in the only direction that made sense to him, to his sensibility of storytelling, which may not be the direction J.J. Abrams wanted to go to, but I don't think he purposely went against or fucked anything up.
Yeah, I think that's just the haters. Oh, he just intentionally spit in the face of everything J.J. Abrams set up. Well, the J.J. Abrams intentionally spit in the face of everything that George Lucas set up. No.
Well, and this is one of their biggest complaints, this scene right here. So many people psychoanalyze and double-analyze what Luke throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder and thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. And they're just playing it for jokes. And where I disagree is they say it goes directly against the way Abrams ended Force Awakens, which I disagree with, because they even say in this movie later on, Luke says, why do you think I'm hiding on this impossible to find planet where you guys had to get this map? Is because I don't want to be found.
Which makes sense. Yeah, it always made sense to me. I completely disagree with those complaints.
Because I don't know, were they actually expecting Luke to be like, oh, I'm going to train you now. Thank you so much for giving the lightsaber. I think that would go against what they set up in Force Awakens, personally.
No, I was absolutely expecting this kind of reaction from Luke.
Yeah. I mean, some people complain about the specifics about him throwing over his shoulder being too comedic or whatever.
How is that? I don't know. Is everybody laughing about that? I don't.
They thought it was played for jokes. Oh, isn't it funny? He's just there's going to be this big moment. He just throws it over his shoulder. But and other people are really analyzing. Oh, maybe he should have just set it down. Maybe he should have handed it and handed it back to her. I'm like, why does it matter so much? Why are you psychoanalyzing?
That seems like a bit of overthinking to me.
And then there was also the Porgs. But people actually didn't. People made a bigger deal about the Porgs before this movie came out. I found. Well, after it, no one really complained about it that much.
Yeah.
And like, I think didn't what's his face, the pitch meeting dude? Didn't he point out the Porgs were just there to sell toys?
Probably. He likes to make that. He likes to say that a lot. I haven't watched the pitch meeting for this in a while.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, I mean, I have a long time ago, but not, I don't remember it.
Unclear. And it does seem like, though, the fact that Snoke makes like Kylo Ren take that stupid helmet off, that it was kind of Rian Johnson not liking the helmet and that looking too much like Darth Vader, and that's why he had him destroy it. And then in the next movie, apparently he's putting the helmet back on because now Abrams is back and he says, "I like the helmet."
I don't care. Yeah. I was, though. This is probably just my own stupidity, but I was expecting Snoke's to be giant because he was always a giant holograph.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that, but I wasn't too surprised.
Yeah, but I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Because wasn't the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back, wasn't his hologram giant as well?
No, well, it was just his face.
Oh, his face was giant.
Yeah, his face was giant, but it doesn't mean that he's giant.
Yeah.
I mean, there was this whole body sitting on a throne and it was this giant thing. Like, way, but I mean, the Emperor wasn't that giant.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people thought that. For me, I always just assumed it was just a hologram. He could be any size,
which it doesn't matter. Like, I don't really care.
Oh yeah, some people were furious about that.
It seems to me like people were just looking for reasons to hate this movie.
I don't know. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt because I think they were coming in wanting to like it, and just what happened just wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And maybe they do after they hated it, then they nitpick every little thing about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a very effective villain.
Yeah, I want to know where he came from, though. I that was probably one of the most disappointing things for me. That he just dies, and we never even found out what is his deal. Where the hell did he come from? We thought all the Sith were destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, this has to do with. I think it's more of an issue with the Force Awakens because Abrams just made up a Emperor repeat and an Empire repeat and didn't explain it. It's like, yeah, other people can handle that. We can handle that. Yeah.
We're very curious to see how they explain how the Emperor is back. There better be some good explanation, not just he's just there.
Absolutely. I don't know. Someone was saying earlier, how can it be called Rise of Skywalker? I am still very confused about that too, but I'll just watch the movie and find out.
Yeah, well, I have a very clear theory about that, but I'll get to that later because there's a certain part that I want to talk about when we get to it.
Yeah, and of course,
his helmet is destroyed forever. He can never remake it
until the next movie. But I like, and I talked about this last week, is that I like Abrams' quote about how he feels about what Rian Johnson did after him and how he has to go in after Rian Johnson. And he says, like, it's no big deal to him because he's used to working on television, which is the kind of what you do in television, as someone else comes in and direct an episode and you direct another episode. And so he says he wants to sort of yes and build off of what they did, even though it may not be the direction he would have personally went into. He sort of, and that, to me, I totally take him at his word like that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And I really like the Luke and Rey stuff, actually.
Yeah, I do too.
I think I can see how some people might say Rey is kind of an underdeveloped character.
don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't know. I never felt like much of, particularly like her Force abilities, where it just seemed to come out of nowhere.
Well, I know that's a complaint that a lot of people have, but I think I am still holding out for the explanation to how she has the Force, how she has such a special connection with the Force. If there is no explanation, then yeah, I will totally agree.
Well, this movie seems to imply that it's kind of just a freak thing that everyone's starting to get the Force at random.
Yeah, I hope there's a better explanation to it than that. If that's all the explanation we ever get, then yeah, I will agree with all the complaints that she learns the Force too easily.
But I know there's a lot of people who don't want it to be that she's like a Skywalker or Obi-Wan's her father or something like that, because that makes it a bit of an oligarchy where it's all about who one family controlling the fate of the galaxy or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's what the first 6 movies were. I mean, the first 6 episodes, it's all about the Skywalkers. So I don't have a problem with that continuing. Well, and that's what I was going to say. I still think she's Luke's daughter, which is why it's called Rise of Skywalker. Why else would it be called that?
I see.
I was going to wait till we got to the part where Kylo Ren tells her that her parents were nobody, and everybody seems to be taking that for face value for some reason. Like,
I take it for face value because Kylo Ren doesn't tell her that. She says it. Kylo Ren says, "Search your feelings," and she's the one who says it. So
right.
I wonder how people can say Kylo Ren is lying when he never actually said it.
Okay, but yeah, we haven't gotten to that. I should wait till But I still think she's searching her feelings for her parents that she knows, like not her true birth parents.
Could be misdirection. That's true, but I don't know. It would feel kind of like Abrams, if he does do that, would feel like he's kind of just rewriting and redoing what Johnson set up.
If he has her be Luke's daughter.
Yeah.
No, because I've always thought she's Luke's daughter, even through that. Like it makes perfect sense to me. Because even after that scene, I was like, no, she's still Luke's daughter.
Really? I think the point of this movie is that anyone can have the Force. And you don't have to belong to a certain family. And that's why they showed the little kid with the broom at the end.
Yeah.
Which I actually, the more I thought about it, the more I liked that feeling that instead of it just being one hierarchy royalty family, that it's more for everyone.
But then why her in particular?
Yeah, I do think they would have to have a specific reason why she would have that much.
Yeah.
Because
it's really powerful with her.
Yeah.
And she's way more powerful than Luke or Anakin or anyone ever was.
Is she that powerful? I don't know if I'd.
Well, I mean, the fact how quickly she adapts to the Force, like she does the Jedi mind trick without even knowing what a Jedi mind trick is.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that in The Force Awakens. So that's kind of an issue with that film. See, this is good acting. This is good character moments. Like this is, and a lot of people were saying this movie's too boring and it goes on for too long. But I think this slow paced character stuff is exactly what I want from a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's really well executed here. I don't know. This all makes perfect sense to me. I think this totally fits in everyone's character. I don't know, like how how you feel about how some people think that they totally ruined. Even like Mark Hamill himself thought that this totally went against Luke Skywalker's character.
No, I disagreed with that. I mean, I didn't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's been what, like 30 years?
Yeah, how can you say what his character is like 30 years later? People change in 30 years.
And I understand the change narratively because it would be boring if he's just this good hero who's like perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about this Poe stuff. Because it seems like this movie is all about chastising him for being a hothead. And I kind of think they did a shitty job at that. Because this starts it off with Leia slapping him, being like, how dare you, you sacrifice all those people. And then a lot of other... I think I would say actually the main complaint I've heard about this movie is the plot with the Empire, or not the Empire, basically the Empire. What the hell are they called? The New Order.
The First Order.
First Order. This is the First Order, whatever the hell they call it. Them slowly chasing like the spaceship. Like it's just a slow chase scene in space, and that's what most people complain about. Most people related to Battlestar Galactica, and apparently in negative ways, saying, "Oh, you're just doing Battlestar Galactica in Star Wars, and it doesn't fit." I mean, I could kind of see where they're coming from with that because this is a lot more sort of localized story than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Movies tend to be. And it seems like it's something to be more fitting for like one of those Star Wars stories rather than one of the main episodes. Like the episodes tend to be more epic and like expanding. Yeah. If you know what I'm saying.
But do they always have to be? Can they not do something different every once in a while? Or they don't do the same thing every time? And it's like Star Wars, but if they do the same thing every time, then they're just repetitive. Like they can't win.
Yeah, I mean, and I heard some other people make the argument. I think this is a good argument that how countering that by saying that people complained Force Awakens was too by the numbers and too much copying of Star Wars, and then people complained Last Jedi was too different than Star Wars, and then some people were like, oh, well, nothing's going to make you happy, but then other people would make the argument, well, no, if you get really hot, if you burn yourself, that's too hot. And if you get really cold and your hand freezes, that's not any better. You want something in between that's a happy medium.
Right.
And I can understand that argument, that maybe this went too far off track.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that.
No, not really. But I can understand that argument, though. And then we talked about last week with Darren about how they killed Admiral Akbar, how fucked up that was. Did you ever see the how it should have ended of this?
Probably, but I don't remember.
It was Admiral Akbar didn't die. They was like, "Oh, Admiral Akbar dead." He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm right here." And then he takes over instead of Holdo, and it's like so much better. And I actually agree with them like that. And at the end, before he drives the ship into the dreadnought or whatever, destroying it, he's like, it's A. And I'm like, what are you saying? It's a truck!
Yeah, I think I did see that, actually. I do remember that now.
And then we get Kylo Ren decides not to kill his mother, but other people do it for him. And my God, I've heard, like, not even just people hate The Last Jedi, but just maybe the general common audience just complaining the hell about this scene where Leia floats back into the ship.
I gotta admit, it's not the bright spot of this movie. I didn't have an issue with the end of her because, Carrie Fisher is dead. So I thought that was it.
Yeah, but they had already filmed this movie before she died. So
I thought they were still filming it when she died.
No, they were still filming 9. Like, they still have some scenes from 9 for her.
Oh, okay.
Or at least, because she's going to be in 9, and they're using old footage that she filmed before she died. So I'm pretty sure they had finished filming, but they hadn't finished editing when she died. Like, they were still in post-production. And so they could have changed, but they would have to, like, refilm a lot of things to make the second half of the movie.
Here,
yeah.
But, yeah, I do kind of agree with that complaint, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I don't think it's the best thing ever. I can understand why some people compare it to Mary Poppins, and this is a bit silly that she's in space and she manages to save her life, where she probably should have died from being in a vacuum of space.
Yeah, it does look very much like Mary Poppins.
But yeah, that's the most common thing. I'm surprised if you hadn't heard that.
So,
before.
has she been using the Force all this time, or she can just use the Force when she's about to die?
That's the thing I don't have an issue with, is her using the Force and having Force abilities. Because, again, it's been 30 years. And I got into an argument with someone over this. I was like, oh, well, she hasn't been shown to use the Force. I'm like, nothing's been shown in 30 years. She's been off screen. So we don't know what she's been doing.
I don't mean it as a complaint. I'm just a legitimate question.
Well,
has she been using the Force all this time? Or is she, perhaps it's just an instinct when she's about to die? The Force.
And she's Luke's brother, so she would have that really strong.
They really set it up from Return of the Jedi like she was going to become a Jedi. And so I was a little disappointed that she kind of wasn't, to be perfectly honest.
So I don't get to see why these porgs sad. Are they sad because Chewie's eating one of them, or because they want to eat some too?
No, they're not cannibals. They're sad because he's eating one of them. I thought that was pretty clear.
Well, why because I was confused at first. I thought they wanted to eat some.
You thought
they wanted to eat some?
They're not cannibals. That's one of them.
But why are they sitting there, like, trembling their lips? What do they expect you to do? Not eat it?
No, not eat it, because it's one of them. They're sad that he's eating one of them. I thought that was pretty straightforward, to be honest.
All right. Well, I'm sure I'm the only one who misunderstood that. But
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, here's the thing with the dice. Like, have you ever noticed the dice before this movie? I certainly did not.
No.
And they make a big deal about him solo, and there's a big plot point at the end. I'm like, apparently it's just some prop in the background. Like, no one's gonna notice these damn dice. Why do we care about them?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. This is kind of speaks to Force Awakens. Watching my Force Awakens rewatch, how Finn seems to be the only one in the Star Wars universe that doesn't understand droids and Wookiees and all of the other creatures.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, he asked Han, like, what is he saying?
Well, yeah, I knew he didn't know, but I didn't know he was the only one. Surely,
have you ever seen anyone else who didn't understand droids? I haven't.
Like droids, but doesn't he understand droids?
No, he says the BB-8. I don't know what you're saying.
Oh,
yeah, he doesn't understand droids, Wookiees, or any of those creatures, and he's the only character that I can think of that doesn't. Every other character we've ever seen.
Does Rey understand Wookiees? Wookiees. Does she understand?
I don't know.
Wookiees?
I don't remember if she has a conversation with Chewbacca or not. She definitely understands BB-8.
Sure. Okay. But I didn't think she understood Wookiees.
I don't know if she even talked to Chewbacca or not.
I don't think she... I think that in this movie they make it clear.
Well, that would be inconsistent too, because it's always just been kind of established that every character understands all of those things, which...
I thought there were other characters who didn't understand.
No, not that I've seen. I've just rewatched.
I know droids, but I'm going to say Wookiees.
Not that, yeah. Well, there is.
I thought in the original Star Wars, Luke didn't understand what Chewbacca was saying. That Han Solo had to interpret for him.
Yeah, but then later he understood him. He definitely understands Chewie. And
I don't know. Droids, I think you're right, but Wookiees, I think there's a lot of people who don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt it was pretty well established that they all understood all of those things, except for Return of the Jedi, where they need C-3PO to be an interpreter, even though they can understand Jabba the Hutt without him. That was very inconsistent. That's a Return of the Jedi thing.
Yeah, Colonel Doomsday says Luke didn't understand Chewie at first. I think there's been a lot of people who don't understand Chewie.
Well, anyway, he's the only one who doesn't understand any of them. He didn't understand droids, anything. But Luke did understand Chewie later.
And here's Holdo. Ooh, she has purple hair. So many people complained about it.
About the purple hair. I don't care about what color her hair
is. Yeah, I don't, because it said she looked like a Hunger Games character or something. And I'm like, who cares?
She has purple hair?
Yeah.
The Hunger Games characters they wore these really outrageous costumes. And it was definitely a lot different than that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get into this now. It's just bothering me every time I see this. But the whole thing where it's Holdo, the movie, it seems like the movie's trying to tell us that Poe is at fault for being hot-headed and not just trusting Holdo and going off his own and starting a mutiny and trying to do all this other things. And my interpretation of the movie is that is what the movie is trying to tell me. And if that's the case, then the movie's wrong, because Holdo is just as much in the wrong for not simply telling Poe her plan. All she had to do was communicate, and she could have avoided the whole thing.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I actually would say it's more her fault, or almost all her fault.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I don't think that's what the movie's trying to say. I think the movie's trying to say the moral of the story is that Poe should have just listened to her. So I really see this whole storyline as the big failure of the movie. And plus, like, she should have just told him.
Yeah.
And you can say, oh, well, it's a military structure and she's his commander, and so she doesn't have to share, information with their subordinate. But he has high standing.
Yeah.
For good reason. He's a high up person. This is a very important plan. So it's vital for him to know this. It'd be stupid not to tell him.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. We keep getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm sure we'll revisit it.
I don't really mind the ROS and Fin stuff.
No, I like Rose, actually.
Many people hated her.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how she seems like a character who doesn't fit into the Star Wars universe. I don't know what specifically they're complaining about, but I actually like this character. I don't like the whole casino stuff, but wait a minute.
Yeah.
But mainly because they just did all of that for no reason.
I think they're using Finn very interestingly in the scene as well.
Yeah.
Really helping. I actually thought he was less annoying in this movie than The Force Awakens. He bothered me in The Force Awakens.
Really, he didn't bother me. I mean, I can see that point of view, why people would be annoyed by him, but I was okay with him.
Sometimes he did go a bit overboard with this. Oh, what? He's just yelling and freaking out.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't bothered by it, but I can certainly see that point of view.
All right, so Nathan Rubel, to us, Poe is the main character. To her, he just got demoted and reprimanded by her friend, and now he thinks he's entitled. Yeah, but he still has. It's not that he's a main character. It's that he has high standing. It's that so many people believe in him and follow him. He's a high figure in the resistance. Doesn't matter if he just got reprimanded or not. There's still a lot of people who'd be willing to follow him. So it's important to keep him in on a very important planet that's vital for their survival. And so when he almost fucks up the plan, it's Holdo's fault for not telling him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, Colonel Doom says this is like the ROS and Fin stuff better the second time around. Like, these are good character beats. Like, he's actually not being a coward. He just wants to save his friend.
Yeah, in the first movie, he was definitely just being a coward.
Yeah, and I honestly think that this movie is better than The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I think about that yet.
You're not sure? Okay. Yeah. I just think it has better character, well-developed characters, and better character beats. Where The Force Awakens, like we talked, me and Darren talked about this last week, how it's tried to do too much. It tried to repeat A New Hope and then add these new elements, and it was just too much to fit into one movie. And none of the characters really came off as that developed. Do you have a different take on that?
Way, but
you don't?
No. But that's a fair interpretation.
And I can see the idea that they come up with this huge plan and it ends up turning out to be nothing. But I guess the counter of that is that the whole movie is about failure. And so each of the characters have to sort of fail in their own way and learn to live with that.
Right, but they spend a lot of time on this failure. I feel like I wasted a lot of my time in this movie. I mean, not totally wasted, because there's good character development during that time. It's not a complete waste. But
I can understand that viewpoint too.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel I'm kind of split on it myself, to be honest. Like, I can see both sides of that argument, but yeah, I'm not sure. Colonel Doomsday, I'm with Apkin on this. On what? Can't remember.
On the casino thing? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I wouldn't. Almost everyone's with Apkin on that. Oh, and Maz Kanata is such a. This character is what we were talking about, how she just came out of nowhere. She's just Yoda Part 2. She's not really developed. I don't really care about her. And she just seems like a MacGuffin. So you totally don't see it that way?
No, I liked her, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. I just thought she was really underdeveloped.
I mean, how do you want her more developed? I mean, did you want her to be in the movie more? Like, I don't. I mean, I thought for as much as she was in the movie, she was as developed as she needed to be.
But they act like she's this established character, and there's this big backstory, but we don't know it. So I feel very disconnected when they have this character around.
Yeah, no, I mean, I bought that Han Solo had a previous relationship with her. I bought that she has this knowledge of the Force. Like, yeah, I didn't have any issue with her.
Just seemed like a plot convenience to me. China Chicken says, I don't think Maz will be in the next movie. Yeah, you don't? I don't know. You never know. She only had a cameo in this one. I mean, Colonel Doomsday, I don't think Maz was necessary in this film. I don't think she's necessary in either film. Both cases, she serves a MacGuffin to push this plot forward. She has a crush on Chewie. Who has a Maz? Does Maz have a crush on Chewie?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, okay.
She says, in The Force Awakens, she tells Han, "Where's my boyfriend?"
Right. Oh, I love this stuff with Rey and Ren. The Force. This is probably the Rey and Ren storyline is why I like this movie so much. And it's still, I think, the highlight of the film.
Yeah, that's what I thought the first time too.
Like this whole talking to each other force projection thing is like a really cool device. Although I don't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know how I feel about the reveal that Snoke was just doing this to fuck with them.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get to that.
And Kylo Ren is, I think, my favorite aspect of the entire new trilogy, like of both the newer films.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot of complaints about him.
Oh yeah, it's just an emo, emotional.
Yeah, which I disagree with. I would tend to agree more with you.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah.
My only complaint about the humor in this film are those things we just saw, those little nun things that are like, they didn't totally annoy me, but I didn't find them funny at all. They did seem, I mean, it's definitely nowhere near, like, not even close to like Jar Jar Binks level. But, that's the only one part where the humor kind of fell flat.
Yeah. Well, see, is Jar Jar Binks and his whole race of people, all those underwater beings, the Gungeons, and all of that.
All of that
is just over the top. You're watching a cartoon all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi don't go anywhere near that far.
Yeah, I just don't understand how people could say this is the worst kind of humor.
Don't get it. It's not even close.
Yeah. I think, well, like, their biggest complaint is that they're trying too much to be like a Marvel movie and be all quippy and whatever.
That's what I thought of the prequels. giving Obi-Wan and Yoda quips and one-liners and like it was and the cliched one-liners. It was terrible. I don't feel that way at all about these movies.
We get more humor with Luke when Rey's like, I feel the Force, and he's just touching her with that little leaf. I thought that was funny. I thought it was totally.
It's allowed to be some humor in Star Wars. You just want to sit there stone face and be. I mean, there's allowed to be a little bit of humor in Star Wars. All of them have a little bit of light,
as well as it works for the characters. It's not distracting, and this isn't. I would say this works for the characters. Like C-3PO saying, "Oh, this is a drag." Like, that's distracting.
Yeah.
Colonel Doomsday, I find this very humorless. I thought that was actually it's not just a funny moment, it's actually perfect in their character development, how Rey doesn't really understand the Force.
Yeah.
And how Luke is kind of sort of trying to show her that.
Yeah.
Reach out, says China.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reach out with your feelings. If we were doing a drinking game, we'd have to take a drink then.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would say that this movie is probably less guilty of saying all those. So if we were doing a drinking game, I think this would be the film we'd drink the least.
Has anybody said I have a bad feeling about this yet?
I haven't noticed, but I've been talking over it, so maybe they have.
I don't think so. The Force Awakens, I only noticed it once. But in the prequels, it seemed like they were saying it every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the prequels are so guilty of that. It's ridiculous.
Which is fine if you want to do it like once a movie or something, but I felt like the prequels, it was like too much.
I mean, just all the typical Star Wars thing. I think that this film probably does it the least.
Yeah.
See, yeah, what Luke is saying here makes me think like the whole theme of the film is that the Force doesn't belong to the Jedi. Like, it's meant for everyone.
Right. But then why is the next movie called Rise of Skywalker? To me, that just makes me think that Rey is a Skywalker, because why else is it called that?
Yeah, I mean, you very well may be right.
Like,
I'm not going to rule that out.
What is... I mean, it's not called Rise of the Force. It's called Rise of Skywalker specifically. So I think this whole thing about not having this, what did you say? Like the ruling family, the monarchy. If that's the point, then why is it called the Rise of Skywalker?
I mean, but it could be. You could be totally right, but then that could be interpreted as J.J. Abrams completely changing the narrative from what this movie sets up.
Well, there's room for both to be true.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't mind if he does, as long as it happens in a way that feels natural to the story and not just like a obviously contrived retcon.
Yeah. No, there's room for her to be a Skywalker, and for the Skywalkers still to be the kind of most important family or whatever, and everyone is open to the Force.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
It just depends on how they play it.
Colonel Doomsday, I was thinking about putting "I've got a bad feeling about this" on my tombstone. That would actually be pretty cool. Kylo Ren is a Skywalker on his mother's side. That is a good point, Colonel Doomsday.
He is.
But is he going to rise? Is the film referring to him rising?
No.
Could, possibly, maybe.
Well, I thought maybe he would turn good and they would both rise.
No.
Who knows?
Although his last name was Solo, though.
But Darth Vader is his grandfather, as they made clear in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, true. I love this how Rey just has that guttural reaction to Ren, but is actually more complex, and they sort of learn to appreciate each other more. I think that's really complex storytelling that was not in the original trilogy.
I concur. I agree with that assessment.
Colonel Doomsday, I was hoping you guys would speculate with me. I don't know. I'm not much for speculating about Star Wars, to be honest. I'm more of a wait-and-see attitude.
Yeah. Regardless of where their relationship goes, I think that it is interesting that this villain and the hero can have this sort of connection. And I actually talked about that my Empire Strikes Back review, which I haven't posted yet, but how at the time it was actually, or at least for me, because I was pretty young, but it was pretty interesting and complex to have our main villain, the guy who's going around the whole movie force choking admirals because they made the tiniest little mistake, end up being the father of our hero. And I just remember being a little kid and saying to my mom on the way home from the theater, like, "Mom, he must be lying," because it just you can't just reconcile with the main villain being the father of the hero. And I actually thought that relationship was interesting. And so
definitely.
This is kind of taking that to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely, in the same spirit, in the same vein. So I think that without copying it, and so
without copying it.
Yeah, so that's why it really works.
I mean, if he was her father, then we'd be copying it. But
now this is here we are with the Canto Bite scene, your favorite scene in the film.
Yeah.
I can understand people's complaints about the scene. It is kind of out of place, and it doesn't really lead to anything story-wise, so it's kind of just an aside. But on the other hand, I like how the commentary that makes it. Some people accuse it of it's trying to be too political, but I think it's very interesting commentary exploring how whatchamacallit, the sort of class oppression that's going on, and they don't really do, for them, the super rich, they don't care who wins, New Order, Resistance, whatever, First Order, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter to them. And I think that's really powerful commentary. So I did like that aspect of it.
Well, watching this scene right now, I'm finding it very interesting that we are seeing like the upper class version of the Mos Eisley Cantina or Jabba Palace, which are kind of just the scum and villainy, the criminals, the low class. And we've seen that a lot. And this is sort of the upper class version of that. That same sort of.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't think about it that way. I think, it makes a sort of interesting spin on that.
Yeah, because we haven't really seen. We've really only seen like the lower class, and we've seen a lot of the criminals and that sort of thing in Star Wars. So it is interesting to explore the upper class in the Star Wars universe.
Colonel Doomsday asked, "Do you like the waterfall action?"
Do I like the what?
The waterfall. I think he's referring to when they had the champagne glasses and they're pouring champagnes and underneath and made a little waterfall out of it.
Oh, I was talking. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, Colonel Doomsday. I'm not sure. This is the only waterfall I saw. So I get that the storyline is not very interesting or relevant to the story, but there he is. There's the code breaker, Kevin Garvey. He's going to take him into the afterlife to bring messages to those who died. Oh no! A ship was flying over a waterfall. I totally missed that. I missed that, Colonel.
Yeah.
I was just pissed off we didn't see Kevin Garvey in this more. I wanted him to start freaking out.
And don't get me wrong, I don't think the casino thing was totally valueless. I think there's good character development in there, and also, I didn't even think about the class, the statements on class and things like that. But I still feel like I wish that it meant something to the overall story.
Yeah, and I agree. I get that. And like particularly with Kevin Garvey, that I think I was disappointed that we don't, because he's the man they actually go. That's the person that Maz Kanata told them about. So they went there to see him, and yet they don't end up seeing him. Instead, they bring in this totally other different character that had nothing to do with anything. And that did kind of annoy me, to be honest. Like it almost would have been better for me if Benicio del Toro was the person that Maz Kanata wanted them to see in the first place. I mean, this was kind of funny how that thing falls on those. Knocks the thing out of those. I don't even know what the hell those things are called.
I don't think they're nuns, though. I thought of them more as like maids or something.
Maids? Okay, maybe you're right. They look like nuns with the outfit they have on.
I thought it was more like a maid outfit.
A maid outfit? Okay, so maybe I'm told. But they are in a monastery.
Oh, are they? Okay, maybe they are nuns.
It's like a Jedi monastery.
Okay. Maybe they're nuns. I don't know.
And they're the keepers of the monastery or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I think the biggest issue with all these films is the gap in the 30 years, and we don't really know what happened with Snoke and why is there a new order in the first order, I keep calling it.
Yeah.
And why, it's like the movies don't care. They just take it for granted. Oh, here's the situation. It's just like the first trilogy. Just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's my biggest disappointment about the new trilogy is that they chose to go that direction. I wish they had not just copy and pasted, as you say, and have another empire and another. It's not the rebellion. Oh, it's the resistance. It's different. I mean, I wish that if they had just gone a different direction entirely.
And I talked about in last week, Force Awakens, that my biggest complaint is that they just felt they were going in this modern fallacy that a lot of modern movies make, that bigger is better. Let's have a bigger Death Star. Let's have a bigger thing. And that
they have the bigger Star Destroyers.
Yeah, bigger Star Destroyer. Yeah. And bigger does not equal better.
Yeah.
And we were talking last week about the Knights of Ren. Have you even heard of them?
No.
They were implied in The Force Awakens. So a lot of people heard of them for supplemental material and stuff like that. But apparently Kylo Ren has a band of followers, of Jedi followers that follow him called the Knights of Ren. And they were shown in the flashback in The Force Awakens. And me and Darren were really complaining about how come they don't fucking show them. Why?
I just watched The Force Awakens. When were they shown?
When Rey's with Maz Kanata and she touches the lightsaber, she has all these visions. One of the visions she sees is Kylo Ren standing with the Knights of Ren.
Oh. Didn't even notice.
Apparently they're explored and explained more in supplemental material. But, why even invent them if you're not going to have them in the movie? Because no one, they barely touch on them. So what's the... some people speculate that they're Luke's other pupils who, once Kylo turned evil, he turned them to the dark side as well. And it sounds like an interesting thing to explore. So I hope the third movie goes into it. Otherwise, it's just another example of how these movies suck at world building. You introduce these elements, but you don't actually do anything with it.
Well, I didn't even notice it, so I actually won't even care if we don't.
Yeah.
If you have to mostly get it out of supplementary material, that's not even. I don't even care if we never see that.
It's not like, oh, you have to show us who they are, but to me, it's more of like, why even have them be a thing at all if you're not going to use them?
Yeah. Well, again, I didn't even notice it, so you have to be familiar with the supplemental material. I've heard about the supplemental material. So to me, that's the sort of thing that I don't care about. Just because they have one little scene in a flashback that I didn't even notice, I don't feel like we need to explore that.
I don't think we need to explore it, but I think it would be more interesting world building.
Oh, sure. It would be more interesting world building. But I don't chalk it up to, that's just another fault of this movie. There's no world building because they didn't explore these things that they only showed for 5 seconds.
Well, they introduce it. I don't know.
But I never noticed it. So I don't, because I'm not familiar with the supplemental material. I've never heard of it. So to me, it doesn't exist.
China Chicken says the Knights of Ren are in one of the trailers. Sorry. Apparently, according to China Chicken, I thought I saw the trailers. I don't remember seeing them, but
yeah, I saw the trailers, but I wouldn't know what they look like. I didn't ever heard of them, so.
I don't know. It seems like a cool concept to me. I don't know.
I don't know. I almost don't want them to, because it seems like if that's a thing, then that should have been a thing that was introduced prominently in the first film and continue on through the 3 films. Like to kind of retroactively introduce them in the 3rd film seems a little too late to me.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. I guess it
depends on how they do it.
Yeah. I think they should
act like they were always there and they were just
because that's what if they're always there, where the fuck were they during the events of this film?
Right.
But I don't know. Do you have strong feelings about DJ Benicio del Toro's character?
To be honest, I don't really remember, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
But I don't remember that I hated him one way or the. I don't think I had feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same, actually, I would say. Some people thought this was too prequel-ish with him shooting coins at everyone. BB-8 shooting coins, but I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, me neither.
So Edward Bedeau says The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars film, the best one since The Empire Strikes Back, in my opinion. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think it's a good film. I do agree with you there. I might agree it's the best since Empire Strikes Back. I might actually agree with that because my opinion of Return of the Jedi has gone down a lot in recent years. So these animal thingies and how they ride them and let them go, a lot of people really equate that to the prequels, saying that was right out of the prequels, the scene we're about to get here.
Why?
Because I don't know, it looks CGI-ish with CGI animals running around, running amok, I guess.
Actually, but the CGI in these films look more real to me, so they don't bother me as much. Just watching the prequels, I feel like I'm watching a goddamn cartoon. And watching these films, even when they have CGI, it looks more realistic to me. So I talk a lot about in my reviews for episode 4 and 5, like it's just how I really appreciate when they actually had the puppets and the physical, actual, real things that you can touch for the creatures. But in these films, the CGI is pretty
pretty good,
at least compared to the prequels. Anyway,
yeah,
it doesn't look like a cartoon.
Yeah, but I can kind of see how it kind of evoked that same feeling.
Yeah,
But,
I can see that. I don't share that, but
yeah, I don't think it's bad. I don't think anywhere near as bad as the prequels, though.
Yeah,
but it is a bit like silly.
Yeah, sure. I suppose that's a criticism that I can definitely see where that's coming from.
Like that little guy going throwing the coins in the air.
Yeah, that was very foolish. I will admit that was definitely.
But actually, I kind of liked it. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as the prequels.
Not only prequelish, but the also like the what do you call those? The enhanced versions, the new versions.
Oh yes. Movies,
which unfortunately I just watched all of the Star Wars movies on Disney Plus, so it's all the
the original versions. There's a whole thing about this. The original versions are very impossible to find. George Lucas purposely doesn't want them to be around,
which sucks because when I was rewatching the original trilogy and had to watch the new versions, which I guess they're not new anymore. They're like
97,
But watching those versions, I'm like, God, I just really want to watch the original.
Colin Doom said, I thought greyhound racing when they set those animals loose. Really? I thought more of horse racing myself.
Yeah, definitely horse racing because you don't ride greyhounds.
Yeah. And Edward says, I don't know if anyone else thinks this, but I interpret DJ as Han Solo if he grew up old, never meeting Luke or Leia. I always like a gray character with no heart of gold, very unpredictable. Yeah, I actually, that's a pretty good interpretation, I'd say. I hadn't really looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I think, looking at it that way, I think DJ is a very interesting character to have. I'm just not sure what he adds to this film's story.
Yeah.
So you don't completely hate this whole Canto Bight sequence?
No, I just wish that it meant more to the story. I found it frustrating that it was all for nothing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
But I don't think it's completely worthless or without value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I stand with it as well. I mean, is there any point to his stutter? Or I don't know. Maybe that's just a character trait. Who cares? But I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. They ruined my childhood by making Luke all curmudgeon up there. I mean, 30 years has passed. Like, I don't know. I think it's perfect.
I completely bought it, and I was expecting it, to be perfectly frank. I would have still preferred that they created a world where there's no First Order, where Luke really does have a band of Jedis that he's trained, and I would have preferred that, but given what they had set up in Force Awakens, I expected Luke to behave in this way, and so I really don't have any issue with it.
That's a really powerful moment. I didn't actually remember that moment where he reached out to Leia with the Force.
Yeah.
I remember hearing some joke about he's saying that because he was on the toilet. I think there was some skit or something about that.
But he's not, so he's right there.
Yeah. He's just I totally disagree with those who say he's just an emo. I think he's one of the best villains because he's really well rounded, and his outbursts and his temper make like complete sense.
Yeah.
And I think the thing where he's talking about how her desire to find her parents is just because she felt abandoned, and that so if her parents are nobodies, that kind of it's her projecting her own feelings on that.
Yeah.
Which I think makes sense for that, but then again, why the hell is she so powerful with the Force?
Yeah.
I mean, they could, if they came up with another explanation of why she's so powerful with the Force, that would be fine with that. And I've seen so many people be like, this destroyed Luke's character that he would try to kill his people. Oh, they completely ruined my childhood out there. There's nothing Luke would ever do. And if the scene had played out as we just saw, as Kylo Ren described it, where Luke was looking all angry and mad, like, I'm going to kill you, then I would agree with that. But as we see later on in the film, that's actually not what actually happened. That was just Ben's warped perspective that Luke was actually not acting all mad. I'm going to kill you. He was just afraid and terrified that Kylo would become. And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy thing, because he did that, he drove Kylo to become the one thing he was afraid he would become.
Right.
Which I think makes it interesting storytelling.
Agreed.
China Chicken says, I think Palpatine is in his head at the moment. Kylo Ren is the best part of the sequel. Is in whose head? Luke's head or Ren's head? I hope not. I think that would be dumb if Palpatine was in Luke's head, forcing him to do that. I think that's more of just his own fears getting the better of him.
Yeah.
Colonel Doomsday is on the fence about Luke trying to slay Kylo.
Well, I agree with you, Mark, because we see later how it really went down. And if it went down like that, then yeah, that would be completely out of character. It would be like to the dark side.
And a Tiskitsa, I'm not sure how to say that, sorry. But in the chat saying Luke was kind of right, maybe he should have killed him then. I mean, maybe he could have saved the whole a lot of stuff if he did. And that's interesting to think about. So this scene doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't get this. I don't see the whole point about the giant butthole underneath that she has to go. Some people said this is too reminiscent of the cave in Empire Strikes Back, and I actually would see that. I agree with that. I think this scene was unnecessary.
I agree with that as well. Well, one thing going into this film, I was wondering how they were going to avoid her learning from Luke, which I assumed was going to happen, being too much like Luke learning from Yoda. And by and large, I actually think they did a good job.
Yeah, other than this scene, I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
And the scene, unlike the cave scene in Empire Strikes Back, the scene seems to be pointless. I mean, I guess they're trying to hint at the fact that her parents are nobodies. Maybe that she's the only one who's important. That's why she sees reflections of herself. But I don't know. That's kind of weak. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that they don't say Luke's her father.
I don't care either way. I'm just wondering why it's called Rise of the Skywalker. Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, maybe you're right.
I mean, I'm not going to be upset one way or the other.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends on how they do it.
It depends on how they do it, actually. Either way, it depends on how they do it.
Yeah. A China Chicken says she's a clone. I wouldn't like that.
That would kind of suck.
Of course, this experience brought her closer to Kylo Ren. This is a really nice scene here. I love these scenes so much. I can't believe people think they're boring. I think this is like some of the best character moments in the entire saga. Now, what do you think the chances are Rey's going to turn evil and join Kylo Ren in the third movie?
Pretty low.
A lot of people want that to happen.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. They think it would be interesting and shake things up.
No, I don't think that I would like that.
No, I agree. I wouldn't like that. Apparently, I heard a lot of rumors that a character from those novels that can wipe from canon is going to appear in the next movie. Who is like Luke's lover, I think.
Oh, yep, her mom.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, we show the trailers show this character with like this woman wearing a cloak having like this double red lightsaber. And I thought maybe that was an evil Rey, but maybe that's this other woman.
I need to rewatch the trailers. I don't think I paid close enough attention to them.
Yeah, here we get Luke's perspective of.
Yeah.
And I think it totally makes sense.
I think Luke's perspective is much closer to the truth, if not the absolute truth of what actually happened there.
I mean, some people still say, even from this, that is out of his character, but I completely disagree. He experienced trauma from his experience with the Empire and Darth Vader. He got his fucking hand cut off. So I think it's natural that it would terrify him like this, and he would strike out against to try to stop that from happening again. But it was just a moment of weakness. Like he wasn't actually going to kill him. Like he changed his mind. But Ben saw that and misinterpreted it, and I think that's actually beautiful storytelling.
Yeah,
honestly,
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Edward says The Rise of Skywalker sounds more fitting as a title for episode 1. I'm a bit puzzled by being episode 9's title since Kylo Ren is the only Skywalker alive that we know of. Well, that we know
makes me think it's Skywalker. I don't know what else. So
because Luke is going to return and saves the day.
I assume Luke is going to be a Force ghost in episode.
Yeah, a lot of people assume that, but you never know. Maybe J.J. Abrams would be like, actually, he never died. What are we talking about? That never happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that would happen. I'm just kidding. But
I also have mixed feelings about. I definitely don't. Well, first of all, I definitely don't want Rey to turn to the dark side. But I have mixed feelings about Kylo Ren turning to the side of the light because I feel like it's too repetitive. Even if Darth Vader die at the very end, and maybe you can have Kylo Ren live.
Oh my god, I fucking love this Yoda scene.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone, but a few people can. The biggest complaint I heard about this is, oh, how come he can set a tree on fire as a Force Ghost? That means Force Ghosts can come in and kill people. Why don't Force Ghosts go and attack them? I'm like, stop overthinking it, for fuck's sake. It's a good scene. Like, who cares? Like, I don't care. In fact, I've heard a lot of complaints about The Last Jedi from a clearly technical perspective. Like, oh, this piece of equipment shouldn't react in this way, and this is how that's not been established in the Star Wars universe. And I respect people, that's their perspective they come from, but I personally don't give a shit about any of that. I'm more concerned about how it works for the story. Oh, and some people complain that Yoda acting all nutty like that was out of character for him, because in the Empire Strikes Back, when he was acting all nutty, they said it was just because he was undercover. It's before Luke found out he was Yoda, and so he shouldn't be.
I always took that as a side of his personality.
Me too.
And I think it's pretty consistent with any. If I recall. This is going way back, but in the Karate Kid, that's how Mr. Miyagi was too. He was very silly. Like I think that is a common characteristic of these wise, like Buddhists or whatever masters, that they also have this very silly side. So I don't think it was just him being undercover at all. I think that's part of his personality.
Yeah, to me too. And I think I love that he was rekindling this silly attitude. I thought it was amazing. Now, how did he hit him on the head with his Force ghost? I don't. And some people were like, "Oh, does that mean why don't the Force ghosts just go around attacking people and striking them with lightning?" Like, who cares? Like,
maybe they can only do that to trees, not to people.
Yeah.
No, I still sometimes think about how come Force Ghost Obi-Wan sits down on a log
Yeah, and to me these are just minor nitpicks. If the scene works for the story, which it totally does, if it's when the characters, totally does. It develops the characters in amazing ways. Who the fuck gives a fuck about all the tiny little nitpicks? Yeah. That's always been my rule for it. Because even for my reviews from time to time, I'll point out nitpicks and stuff I love, but I'll still be like, but I don't care. I still love it anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying in your review of the New Hope. Colonel Doomsday says, I wish he didn't sound quite so much like Grover, though. I'm pretty sure it's voiced by the same guy, Frank Oz, doesn't he do both?
Oh, you're talking about Yoda?
Yeah, he was talking about Yoda.
Yeah, Frank Oz does this. He does Grover as well.
Yeah. So
he does Fozzie the Bear. Yeah, He did a lot of the Muppets, so that's why Yoda sounds like a Muppet.
Was Grover a Muppet, or was he on Sesame Street?
He was on Sesame Street, but those are still Muppets, because they're all the Jim Henson creations are Muppets.
Okay.
Even if they're on that's still Jim Henson. It's just a Sesame Street.
Yeah, okay, right. Maybe Force ghosts are a hallucination. I don't know. That wouldn't make sense.
So a hallucination just burned down the tree?
How long is a parsec? I don't know. I don't care.
How do you feel about them? Because I had forgotten about this when I rewatched Revenge of the Sith. I don't know if it's retconning, but how Yoda tells Obi-Wan at the end, "Ooh, I have a mission. I have something to do for the next years when you're in exile or whatever."
I think that was retconning. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I think we could have just had the Force Ghost be Force Ghost. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Because because the Darth Vader practice, whatever the hell it was, so that he could be a Force ghost?
No, I don't think so. All right, so Edward says maybe the ancients that ascended in the Milky Way galaxy have their eye on the galaxy far, far away to make sure Force ghosts don't kill people. All right. Okay. Critical. Yeah, see... Just fucking tell him of your plan. God damn it. I'm sorry. I don't care about any excuses. This pisses me off. Yes, she has a plan. Tell him. God damn it. See, that's a bullshit. She's using it as an excuse to not tell him. And say, oh, just trust me. But what reason does he really have to trust her?
Yeah. In fact, she seems extremely untrustworthy.
Absolutely. I don't know. Luke is hallucinating that Yoda caused it. It was really just a coincidence. I don't know, man. That's too much of a coincidence for me.
Yeah.
Colonel Doom says, I'm surprised it's taking this long to rant. Well, as I said, I like this film overall. Like, it's just, yeah. Yeah, now this is really frustrating. Not just that the Canto Bite scene was pointless, but the fact that all this stuff with him getting the code breaker and is leading to this big thing, but really we just learned that Holdo should have just fucking told him told him the plan in the first place. So it never would have. None of this stuff is necessary.
Yeah,
like, that's frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't get what vibe, Cardinal Doomsday, that I liked the movie? I've said that a lot of times that I like this movie. Like, when it first came out, I was like, gave it a 10, and I said it was one of the best Star Wars movies ever, but I kind of come down on that since then. But I still like it. I still think it's a good movie.
Cardinal Doomsday, did you miss the beginning? We were talking about how we like this movie.
Or maybe he might be talking about a different vibe. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Holdo vibe. So how did Rey get there again? Oh no! Colonel Doomsday was responding to the other chatter, not me, about the Yoda thing. Okay, now that makes more sense.
She went in the little escape pod thingy from the Millennium Falcon, did she? I don't know. I wasn't quite paying attention.
I mean, one person's complaint was the fact that there's just chase going on where these ships are trying to catch these other ships. Yet people are coming and going. Like, Finn gets to go to Canto Bite and then come back. And then Rey gets to come and go. Which... I don't know. I mean, I think that's a bit valid. I think she deserves to be relieved of command, to be honest. I don't care that her plan was the right thing. She deserves to be relieved of command for not sharing it for such a high-ranking, prestigious, followed officer. Like, it's her fault that this fuck-up happened.
Yeah.
She's a terrible commander.
Yep.
Like, and I agree with that. How it should have ended. That this movie would have been way better if they just made Admiral Akbar. If Admiral Akbar was in charge instead of her.
Yeah.
But then again, they wouldn't have this fake conflict between Poe, and so he wouldn't have anything to do.
Yeah. Yeah. What would the conflict be? It's a trap. No, it's not. It's a trap. Well, it's not really a trap.
Oh, jeez. Chicken says, kind of sucks that Kylo and Leia won't have any moments together. Yeah. And Edward says, yes, Rey used the escape pod shuttle thingy to do Da from the Millennium Falcon. All right.
You don't think they'll do like a CGI Princess Leia like they did for...
No, they said that they wouldn't.
Okay, good.
They want to be respectful. They said they're just using some old footage that she'd filmed before she died. That's what they said, but of course, maybe they're lying. Maybe it's wrong.
So is she gonna die, or are they just gonna say, "Well, Princess Leia can't be here for our big celebration that we all won and everything because she's busy"?
They'll just cut an image of her in the background. Yeah. Now we're going to talk about Snoke and how, I guess we already talked about him, how he just dies. And I don't know, like a lot of people were furious over this, but the more I thought about it, the more I was okay with it. I guess
I'm just more interested in where the hell did he come from?
I liked what Ryan Johnson said about it. He said he thought about like if Snoke in this scene said, "Oh, by the way, I'm descended from Darth Plagueis," and all these theories, and what would that add to the story?
Well,
and I kind of think he has a point.
That's not the way that you would get that information, with just exposition. I think it adds to the story because it doesn't make any sense that the Sith would come back out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll get some explanation for it in the next film.
I just think that's a problem with world building that was inherent, that he inherited from The Force Awakens.
Well, I'm not blaming J.J. Abrams or Ryan Johnson in particular. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
What my point is, my issue more than him dying is that he died without us knowing who the hell he was, where he came from. So if they were able to, however they fit Palpatine in there, if they were able to explain how Snoke came to be in some way, then I would.
Yeah, I think that would add.
I would feel satisfied.
Yeah, that would justify a little bit why is there another fucking empire?
Yeah.
And why is there another fucking emperor?
Yeah.
It does seem kind of just like lazy writing that he's just there to be the big bad guy, and there's no real motivation or backstory behind it other than he's evil. Like
exactly.
I definitely get that. Actually,
frankly, that Ryan Johnson comment you just told me about kind of annoys me.
Oh, really?
Because that's besides the point. It's not. We don't want him to just sit there and tell us something just to add to the story, or expect that it's going to add to the story.
But what I think is larger point is, which I kind of agree, is that when he went to write this movie, he saw what are the important characters, what's important to the story. He focused on Rey and Kylo Ren, and that he decided that should be the focus, and that Snoke doesn't really matter to the end game of things.
But he doesn't matter because he exists. Like, where the hell did he come from? How did the Sith come back again? Because that also has to do with Kylo Ren. If you think Kylo Ren is important, how Kylo Ren became who he is because of Snoke. So it's very relevant to Kylo Ren as a character.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that too. Yeah, and see here, the movie is trying to tell us that Poe was in the wrong because Leia comes out and shoots him and talks about how naive he was being and how he needs to be less of a hothead and supporting Holdo. And the movie's fucking wrong. I'm sorry. This is not what it shows.
Yeah. 100% agree with you.
So Edward says, we had no idea who the Emperor was in the original trilogy, still had no problem with Snoke dying without his convoluted backstory revealed. Very true. We didn't get Emperor's backstory until the prequels. Like, the Emperor was just a generic bad guy who made Darth Vader who he was.
But now that we have that backstory and we know how the Sith work, we need that. We didn't have that basis to go on in the original trilogy. Now we know what the Sith are and how they work. And we were led to believe that the Sith were extinct and that the whole thing about Anakin Skywalker being the chosen one and bringing balance back to the Force works if you don't have Snoke come back. Like that eliminates that whole thing. Because you can see that Darth Vader killed the Emperor. Okay, the prophecy was right. He's the chosen one. He brought balance to the Force. But bringing Snoke in contradicts that. So, yes, we do need Snoke. And no, it is not the same as the Emperor just being thrown in there. Because we didn't have all of the backstory that we have now.
That's a very good point, too. God, I fucking love this scene. I almost want to just ignore the chat for a second and just watch this scene.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at the chat that much. I probably will need to rewatch this again without talking before I go to see.
This is people who bash this scene. This is where we part ways completely. Like this, I don't know. This scene made the movie for me. Like this whole sequence. But I don't know. Snoke does die, but I don't mind Snoke's death in the scene. The larger context of what you're saying about him not explaining who he is and him just being MacGuffin, that does bother me. But the scene itself, I think, works for his death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Emperor never really came off as generic bad guy the way Snoke does, I think.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because now we have all the other films. And
we were kids when we saw the first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if you were to look at it objectively, he probably does come across as just
the Emperor?
The Emperor, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, just taking the prequels out of it, just looking at Return of the Jedi, I think he actually is kind of a cartoonish villain.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I recorded my Return of the Jedi review. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I think I even said that he is kind of a cartoonish villain, but I didn't care because of the Darth Vader and Luke storyline works so well that you can, and Darth Vader worked as your complex villain. You didn't necessarily have to have two complex villains. I didn't mind having the Emperor in there. It's just more of the one-dimensional villain.
Oh, time code. Sorry, time code. We're at. Oh fuck, where's the time code? Oh, here it is. Oh no, wait, that's how much time is left. Do you have the time
on
code?
Netflix? If you click on the little red dot, it'll tell you what.
Okay, so 1:40:19 is what I'm showing.
Yeah.
So about an hour 40 minutes in, you'll be roughly where we are.
Yeah. We got 51 minutes and 40 seconds left. I think in general, I just didn't really care for that character that much. I don't care what color her hair is. I just don't really particularly care for that.
yeah, I feel the same way. Like, who gives a fuck what color her hair is? It's that the whole, they just botched her whole storyline. I'm evil by the guy looking at you. Like, how's this so generic?
For a second, I thought he was really saying that, but that was just...
see how like DJ's like an alternate take on Solo. I think that is an interesting way to look at it.
That's a good interpretation of it. Yeah.
That he's someone who's a bit more older and jaded and isn't so easily swung over. And he has a very sort of pragmatic, cynical view of the world, and saying because he knows the arms dealers are selling to both sides, it's like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Which clearly it does, but it's an understandable like worldview for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the type of thing that I think really brings complexity to the story that we've never seen in any of the previous movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was one of the things that I walked away with from this film, like really feeling like this was a strong film.
Now, here we go. I mean, I suppose you could say this is reminiscent of Return of the Jedi with the Emperor, like, torturing Luke. But to me, like, it's like the sense of this film copying other films is nowhere near as bad as Force Awakens.
And it's not copying the second film of the trilogy; it's copying the third film. So they went out of order a little bit.
Yeah, it's not the entire movie that's like because the entire plot of A New Hope was copy and paste onto Force Awakens.
Exactly.
It's just a bit of some nice callbacks. And in fact, like it's not. I don't mind that these motifs that are kind of similar, as opposed to like Discovery being like Sarek, Tribbles. Like, to me, that's the way worse.
Yeah.
God, this whole sequence is just, I think, is one of the most beautiful shot scenes in any fight scene. Like the whole, just the colors, the red, the background. I love the way they sort of play. Like they invoke these older scenes, but then they change them to make it something totally different. They subvert your expectations in the way that those scenes, oh yeah, we know how this is going to go. Kylo Ren's going to kill Snoke and he's going to turn good and Rey's going to live happily ever after. But that's not what happens. Like he does kill Snoke, but he doesn't. He wants Rey to turn evil with him. And and I love that. That they sort of build off it and change it. And as I said, they did such a good job of establishing their relationship throughout the film. I think it really earns this thing.
Yeah.
I think it's because... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I think that it actually... I think I would kind of like the ending of him not turning and she just has to kill him, rather than... Yeah,
actually... That could be quite a good tragic ending, that she's forced to kill him and she can't turn him. I think that would be more powerful.
I think that would be better than him turning because that's already happened.
And I've heard some people complain about how he was able to trick Snoke, but I think they made it very clear that Snoke was just sensing him turning on a lightsaber to kill someone. Like, he didn't know the specifics of it. And I love the way it worked. Like, God damn it, I love this scene. And then oh my God, I got to shout out for this fight scene. I fucking love it. I think this is one of the best, if not best, fight scenes in the whole Star Wars saga.
Yeah.
And I heard some people, I want to bitch about this now. And it's Colonel Doomsday, you want to hear me go on a rant, but you might be happy now. But some people complain, and this is the complaint about this film that makes the least amount of sense to me, that there's no lightsaber battles in the film. Have you heard that one before?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I've heard it from many different people saying that it's not a root film, so we didn't get any lightsaber battles.
So what is this then?
Well, it's not lightsaber battles because those aren't lightsabers those red dudes have.
but
they're
they have
little snaky thingies. That's not enough, apparently, in these people's eyes. It has to be lightsaber in order to count as a lightsaber. Exactly! Why are you quantifying it so specifically? It doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. I just don't get it. And I think on my last review, I went on a rant about this, and I got a couple
there
comments.
is a lightsaber battle in it, Phantom Menace, and people complained about how it was done.
Well, probably not the same people, though. Yeah. A lot of people love that lightsaber battle. Which personally, I think this is 10 times better because this has more emotion, it has more power. The acting's a lot better. Where the one in Phantom Menace was just like a dance. It was like choreography.
Yep.
And so, I think I had this argument with Josh and Don when I did the video with them where they were trashing this movie. Because Josh thought this scene was terrible, and I was saying, no, this is one of the best fight scenes in the whole saga, and he thought I was crazy for saying that. But
I'm completely in the middle. I don't think either one. I don't think this is like the best, but I also don't think it's terrible either. If
I had to rate all the lightsaber battles, and yes, this is a fucking lightsaber battle. I don't care what anyone says. But if I had to rank,
you can define if you were to rank them all, you can define what a lightsaber battle is. Yeah. Any battle where a lightsaber appears, I'm going to rank it.
And is used in the battle is a lightsaber fucking battle, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But I would rank this as the second best behind the Luke and Darth Vader and Empire.
Yeah.
I'd even put this above the Return of the Jedi one. FF Mark, really? What are you talking about, Colonel Doomsday? What does FFS mean?
All right, we talked at the beginning about bathroom breaks, and I've been waiting for my opportunity. I'm gonna have to do it now. I'm gonna keep the film running, and I'll be back as quickly as I can.
All right.
Talk to the chat.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat during my rant. Oh, he's missing the best scene. The scene is like, this is amazing fucking acting. Like, between both these actors, like, you feel the emotion, you feel the power, and it was just so well developed and so well earned. Like, I have a lot of issues with this movie, as I was talking about in the post stuff, but this is why I love this movie so much initially. This is why I still totally disagree with people saying this ruined Star Wars or whatever. I would actually say this is one of the better Star Wars movies because of this relationship between Kylo Ren, and I think this is beautiful payoff. It is great character development. Anyway, sorry, I missed what was going on in the chat because of my little rants. You can see the themes that were developed and included in Star Wars. Let's see. Who's saying for better than Obi-Wan versus Anakin? Yeah, I would say even better than Obi-Wan versus Anakin because that was a bit choreographed as well. Although I do like it in Revenge of the Sith, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm back now. Obviously, I like that battle as well. Watching it now, I thought that the effects were a little outdated, like the whole lava stuff shooting everywhere, and it was a little much. But the battle itself was very good.
Yeah. Acting in the forequels much better than the prequels. I mean, does that pretty much go without saying? Would you agree, Afkin?
Well, Hayden Christensen alone just yeah, I just had really actually forgotten just to the level of how bad he is until I just rewatched them.
Cardinal Doomsday makes a good point that the Obi-Wan versus Anakin thing was a bit too long. I can see
that. So? I was okay with it. I mean,
I didn't think it ruined it. I still liked it, but I think I do agree with.
It was intercut with other scenes. It was, which I guess lightsaber battle.
And I think that one was actually perfect. The Kylo Ren one, the length-wise. Like, I don't think it was too long or too short. I think it was just right.
Yeah.
Edward says, I thought Obi-Wan versus Anakin would have been more powerful if it was shorter. They should have cut out the CGI access. Yeah. And has Atkins pointed out, CGI has not aged very well.
Well, and the pitch meeting for that one, they said, well, Obi-Wan got him because he has the higher ground. Wow. What about when in the first movie when Obi-Wan was underneath the Darth Maul and jumped up and killed him? I don't know. I forgot about that.
All right, I'm going to go on an epic rant soon, but that scene where they ripped the lightsaber in half was fucking amazing. Like, it was something we never seen in Star Wars before, and just the way that Rey refused to join Kylo Ren and they were fighting over it. It's just so intense. It's just so well earned. But now I'm going to have to rant about this.
Hold on, before you...
All right. Okay, go ahead.
It could be very symbolic of if they end up neither turning the other. And both ending, the side of the light and the side of the dark, that could be very symbolic. The lightsaber being torn in half. That it's just a stalemate until one of them dies. But anyway, you can rant now.
So I'm not going to rant about the movie. I'm going to rant about people who complain about it because, all right, I don't know if you heard this complaint, but you know that scene where Holdo took the ship into hyperspace in order to destroy this, the big Death Star thing, or was it a Star Destroyer thingy?
Yeah.
Have you heard people complain about that before?
Probably. You know what? I haven't been paying attention to this movie in a while, so probably.
It's come up more recently, and I've watched the video, and I was like yelling at the screen about it. So their complaints are if they can just, first of all, a lot of the people say they shouldn't be able to do that. That's not how ships work. Okay. But anyway, their complaint is that if they could destroy a ship by going into hyperspace, why didn't they just do that to the Death Star?
Well, the Death Star's not a Star Destroyer, first of all.
Yeah. And I was literally yelling at the screen because the Death Star is way fucking bigger. Yeah. It's not the same thing. It's a shit comparison. I can't believe all these people are pushing this off as a legitimate plot hole, a legitimate mistake in the film, and they're fucking wrong. And if you go to hyperspace and you crash into the other ship, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? Of course they're going to fucking destroy it. And as far as, why didn't they just do this all the time? Because they're not going to waste their big-ass ships like that. This was a desperate last-minute move because they were desperate. They made that very fucking clear in this film. These people are so stupid it drives me insane.
Look at Green and Tarth.
All right, sorry, I had to get that rant off my chest.
No, I agree with you. I have mixed feelings about this because I thought if you want to talk about underdeveloped characters, for a character that was kind of a fan favorite, it seemed like Captain Phasma, and people had theories about her. She was very underdeveloped and then just dies. But at the same time, I like that Finn gets his revenge on her. So I think that's a good part of his story arc.
I actually, thanks. People in the chat supporting my rant. Edward's saying, because if you ram, your main cruiser in light speed should be a last resort if you have common sense. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know why more people can't see this.
Yeah, and also as far as going to the Death Star, it wouldn't have destroyed the Death Star.
Yes, the Death Star's massive compared to this Dreadnought Star Destroyer ripoff thingy, whatever the fuck it is. But as far as Brienne Tarth goes, I actually didn't mind her. That's the one complaint I didn't share, because I think in the film, like just judging her off the film, if I didn't know she was a good actress or whatever, she just comes off as your typical henchman character that's in most films. Yeah. Like, And I think the only reason most people expect more of her is because of supplementary material. Apparently, there was a whole book about her or something.
Well, I thought it was because it was played by Brianna Tarth.
Yeah, that
people
too.
expected more of this character. And I felt for it too. I was expecting a little bit more of this character. So I guess I felt a hint of disappointment at first, but upon reflection, I actually think it's really good for Finn's character. And this character really always was one-dimensional. It was us, the fans, projecting something onto that didn't exist. Like she never really was anything more than just a one-dimensional henchman. We just wanted her to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally see. And I agree that scene was a great way. Now, do you think she might come back in the next movie?
They can't bring everybody back. They're bringing back Palpatine. I mean,
I don't think they should. It seems like that movie's doing enough as it is.
I don't want. I would rather them not. Quite honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One thing I was going to point out, we were talking about something else when it happened, but the fact that how come she's the only stormtrooper whose armor deflects blasters? Like all the other stormtroopers, you just shoot them. Like that's just a common nitpick about Star Wars in general. Not only do the stormtroopers have terrible aim, but their armor is worthless because you can shoot it. But with Captain Phasma, it goes, they shatter with a blaster, it goes ding and like deflects. Like, why is not all of their armor like that?
Edward says the best sequel to the original trilogy in the expanded universe is a comic series, Star Wars Legacy, going a century beyond the time of Luke, Han, and Leia didn't get taken advantage of enough. I've never read any comics, so I wouldn't know. Oh, there's the Crystal Foxes, also made to sell toys.
Yeah.
Do you remember the pitch meeting thing when he was like, "Oh, let's come up with an animal"? People were like, "What are something?" "Oh, my wife likes diamonds." "Oh, and she also likes dogs." "Oh, let's make a dog made out of crystals." Like, I didn't mind. Like, again, it doesn't bother me at all.
I think since the Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks, which I did watch the honest trailer for that recently, and they referred to the Ewoks as merchandising opportunities. and I think since then, pretty much every film has had the merchandising opportunity. So it's just a part of our reality that that's what they're going to do with these major movie studios. So what? It's as long as the story and the characters are still good, I don't care about the merchandising opportunities. It's just kind of a part of the reality of film, especially major.
Now, a lot of people really complain about that scene right there where a guy takes the thing out, puts it in his mouth, and goes, salt. They're saying that as like bad exposition to explain, hey, this isn't snow. We're not repeating Hoth. This is actually salt. Well, and I kind of can see that, but it doesn't bother me too much. Like, I don't care. I think the original.
One of my complaints about The Force Awakens is that why are all the planets desert planets? If it's not Tatooine, then why do you need another desert?
That's exactly what I said in my thing last week.
So here, they're saying no, this isn't a repeat of Hoth. This is salt.
Yeah.
Why not have something entirely different that doesn't look like snow or salt or anything?
But I love this sequence. I think this is beautifully shot cinematography here. Like, this is another reason why I love this film so much. It is beautiful to look at.
And I like how they have more of a diversity of aliens in the Resistance. Like, and Force Awakens too. Every once in a while, you see like this like in the the original trilogy. Like those types of aliens were only like the scum and villainy and Mos Eisley and Jabba Hutt's palace and all that. Like they didn't get to join the. I mean, they were to an extent they did. That little dude who was with Lando Calrissian and the Millennium Falcon, but you see more of them in these new movies, and I like that.
Do you know that Star Wars actually makes more money off of toys than the actual films itself?
Oh, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Like Edward in the chat is just saying merchandising where the real money of the movie is made. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I don't mind that they have the porgs or the crystal foxes because it doesn't interfere with the movie. It doesn't actively like Jar Jar and the Gungans or whatever completely interfered with the film. That is kind of typical of Star Wars. I can't lose him. She's gonna blow. And that's a cool shot with the Chewie and they had the porg yelling. I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
See, I didn't mind the use of humor in this film because it's subtle.
Being a gunner, excuse me, being a gunner in the Millennium Falcon and going woo, that has happened a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't a huge fan. What are those little things called? Porgs?
Yeah.
Huge fan of them, but again, they don't take away from the film the way that...
I think they're kind of cute. I don't mind them.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of them are a little over the top for me, but...
Yeah, I don't know.
Overall, they don't bother me.
Those guardians, is that what they called? The caretakers, that's what they're called. Those, nun thingies. They bothered me more than the porgs. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like that scene with the porg going up against the windshield, and it's just a little bit silly, but it still pales in comparison.
To me, the Gungeons, absolutely. To me, it's kind of reminiscent to the original trilogy. I think they did gags like that as well, particularly Return of the Jedi. With the Ewoks.
But that's the thing that people complain about Return of the Jedi.
I don't think this is as bad, though, to be honest. Like, because the porgs aren't a major plot device. They're just in the background. The way the Ewoks are major, and the Gungans are, like, major plot devices.
Well, I will say in my Return of the Jedi review that it hasn't been uploaded yet, I do not hate the Ewoks the way everybody else does. I don't have a problem with them.
I don't know if I say I hate them, but I think they definitely bring the movie down. I do have issues with them.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with them. The Honest trailer actually defends the Ewoks in that the complaint that people have that this little small band of tribal people would be able to overcome this really big organized empire like that. And the Honest trailer actually lists like 10 historical happened in life.
Yeah, I remember that. That was brilliant. I actually like that. Yeah.
Actually, that is not a legitimate complaint about the Ewoks. We can complain about them being merchandising opportunities. I think that's I
complain about them being distracting sometimes. That's my biggest complaint. Well, like, they play the gags when they're one swinging a rock and he hits himself and he goes, wow! Like,
that's distracting to me. But that opened the door for the prequels, but the prequels really took that to a whole new
yes.
So in comparison to that, like it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's true. The prequels are way, way worse.
And also the other point that I'll make in my review is that movie came out when I was 9 years old, and I was literally the target audience for the Ewoks. So I just still have this like nostalgia for them that makes me not hate them. Just because I still have a little bit of that 9-year-old in me, because I was literally the target audience for them.
Well, I remember being like Ewok crazy when I was 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is another scene I'm going to complain about.
You're going to complain about the scene or the people who complain about
this scene? No, the scene itself.
Yeah.
Because you know how Rose sideswaps Finn, saves his life, and saying it's not about... What does she say exactly? She says it's about us. It's about saving...
It, right? She hasn't said it, so we'll see.
Yeah, she says it's about saving those we love. But that's exactly what he was doing, and you just stopped him from doing that. Like, I think she's being hypocritical. Like, and a lot of people are going to die because she did this. But at least it's not her boyfriend. not fighting what we hate, saving what we love. But that's what he was trying to save all those people by sacrificing himself. He's not fighting what he hates. He is saving what he loves. But so that doesn't make any sense to me. And all these people are going to die. They're not going to save what they love because she stopped him. I don't know.
Maybe she didn't really understand what he was doing. I don't know.
That just didn't make any sense to me.
Now, one thing I do remember that got huge complaints is the scene we're going to get to pretty soon with Luke force projecting himself.
Do you have complaints about that?
I don't, but that's when I remember hearing huge complaints about it.
Oh, yeah. Big ones. I'm fine with it. I've loved it.
I've always been fine with it. I feel like in general in these films, they've kind of introduced new powers of the Force. Like the way that Kylo Ren was able to reach into people's memories. And so they never did that before. And I'm okay with introducing new aspects of the Force or new powers that you can use the Force for. That's fun.
Yeah.
Especially since he's been like a hermit meditating for 30 years on that planet. And he's had time to learn things like that.
Absolutely. Now, I watched this podcast. It was Wes's podcast. Colonel Doomsday, be familiar with that. I don't think it was Wes himself. I think it was someone he had on who made a hyper focus about Luke's hair in the scene. How come he has short hair? Why did he project himself with short hair? Why not? Why does it matter? This is the length of his hair.
People to see him when he was clean cut and look nicer.
And how they remember him more. Like,
yeah, his beard is also trimmed.
Yeah, so
and that is gray.
Yeah, he looks a bit younger because they remember him as being a bit younger.
Yeah, he makes perfect sense to me.
Why does it matter?
Yeah,
why would it?
But I think that's a perfectly reasonable explanation for it, anyway.
Yeah. I don't know what they're talking about lightsabers in the chat. I sort of lost that conversation. Yeah, but the dice, that is a complaint. Like, why are these dice so important all of a sudden? No one's ever noticed them.
Yeah. Do they have dice in the Star Wars universe then, apparently?
Apparently. Timestamp, please. Okay, we're at 2:09:08. So basically about 2 hours and 9 minutes.
Wrapping it up. We're 22 minutes and 38 seconds away from the end of the film. I don't know if that goes all the way to the credits, probably.
Yeah, it would be. Can we talk about Penske? I don't know what you mean. Penske? Are you talking about
Penske?
Oh, Penske. Yeah, I don't want to badmouth. I love their podcast, so I don't want to seem like I'm badmouthing them or anything. I just disagree with that one thing that won. I can't even remember who said it. I think it might have been Clay. I can't remember. I thought this was a really cool scene.
I did too.
I loved it. I mean, part of the reason why I think this movie really works is because the structure is completely different than most other Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcos. To the end of the critic show. I just wish these characters were more developed, or the New Order in general.
First Order.
I keep calling it the New Order. The First Order, yes.
as opposed to the New Republic. I love how they were still calling it the New Republic 30 years later. It's not new anymore. It's just always new.
Oh no, I like the Penske file. I think it's a good podcast. I don't want to badmouth.
I bet you people complain about the thing Luke just did, like brushing off his shoulder like that. I felt that was awesome, actually.
I haven't heard anyone specifically complain about that.
Seems like something people would complain about. I guess they complain about that scene in general, but one thing I like about Rose is that she kind of distracted Finn from Rey. I didn't like that they were implying there could be like something between those two, Rey and Finn, in the first film. I wanted them.
Yeah,
definitely just a friendship.
Yeah, I didn't like that too. So I'm glad they did steer away from that. All right, and this doesn't count as a lightsaber battle either because he's just a force projection and he's not actually there.
Yeah.
Even though they both have lightsabers. And they are kind of fighting, even though he is a projection. He is swinging at him, so I don't know. I would count it, personally.
I think it's silly not to count it.
Yeah, honestly, I do.
Lightsabers fighting.
Yeah, exactly. People have lightsabers, and they're fighting.
Yeah.
So it is a lightsaber fight. And then earlier I talked over this, but even the Ren versus Chrome Trooper versus Captain Phasma, I'd actually count that too. But I don't know if either of them actually had a lightsabers, but those things were close enough, I think.
That might be stretching it a little bit, to tell you the truth. I think lightsaber, it's got to at least be a lightsaber in there.
Yeah, I guess a lightsaber-like thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think about it a lightsaber battle because there's no lightsabers.
Yeah, I suppose.
You can call it a lightsaber-like battle.
It's esque, yeah. Kylo Ren is so angry when he's a young man. What's he going to be like when he's old? Serious question. Probably not going to live to be old.
Probably not going to live that long. Yeah. I actually think those are the two likely outcomes for him, that either he dies or does turn. And of the two, I'd rather he just never turn and die. Like I don't know that I want to see a repeat of the.
Edward says, Ben says, let the past die. An hour later, I gets humiliated by a literal projection of his past. I never thought of it that way.
I guess if anything in the sequels that would look like cartoons to me, it would be the Porgs.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm not saying it's anywhere near as bad as what's in the prequels. And again, they don't play a major role the way that the...
I mean, it's Crystal Foxes, maybe.
Yeah. Well, they're not like cartoonish, though, the Crystal Foxes.
Oh, yeah.
The Porgs are like their expression.
Big eyes, yeah.
Very cartoonish.
I don't know. They don't bother
I'm not saying they bother me. I'm just saying out of anything in these films, those would probably be the most cartoonish.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess there might be an argument for BB-8.
Yeah.
Especially when he's spitting coins at the casino at people. I mean, I kind of can see the argument that the movie's a bit too long. Because this ending does seem to stretch on for a bit.
That's the same thing that Obi-Wan said to Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah. But he sounds a bit more... I don't know, he sounds a bit more sorrowful, I think.
I don't think so. I actually like that line in the originals or in the.
I did too.
Because it actually did fit with how Obi-Wan felt in the original films, even if a lot of the facts were a little messed up.
Yeah.
I will not be the last Jedi.
I'm sure people had issues with this as well, but I don't care.
I think this shows again that she's more powerful than Luke was, because I don't think Luke could do anything like that, especially not this early on.
This early on, yeah.
In his training,
not with as little training as she had, yeah.
But I'm waiting for what the explanation is going to be for that. If there isn't one, then I'm going to agree with all the naysayers, but I think there may be an explanation for it.
Edward says, I'm still puzzled by Rey having the books at the end when Yoda says they don't contain anything Rey doesn't already possess. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of Yoda's speech? No, Yoda didn't say the books. It was actually a nice play on words, because Yoda didn't say the books didn't contain anything to possess. He said the temple he set on fire didn't. He said that Rey already has what she needs. So it's a tricky, cryptic way of saying that she already has the books.
Right.
That he's not actually setting the books on fire. Yogurt. And may the Schwartz be with you.
So, piece of projection, how does his lightsaber solid? Like, how do they fight?
Yeah, well, did they ever actually touch? I didn't think they did.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't paying attention because we were talking.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think he was just dodging him the whole time. The one thing I will again agree with the naysayers, I thought his death was kind of out of place and sudden and unnecessary. I mean, they're just saying that the force projection took it out of him and then killed him. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that probably takes a lot of strength because it's not something people do.
Sure.
I can buy his death. I buy his death more than Yoda's. Yoda's death was just a plot convenience.
Well, no, it's not that I don't buy it. It's just I don't think it's very good storytelling.
Yeah.
It just seems to come out of nowhere. And you're right, Yoda's death was really out of nowhere, too. It was I must go now. First.
Yeah, he just was waiting for Luke to come back so he could just die.
Yeah, that was definitely poorly mishandled too, but I still think this is also
I actually think this is better than that. But I also understand why they had to do the Yoda thing, because what are you going to do? Have Luke train with Yoda again? Like, you have to get rid of Yoda. I actually don't have any problems with any of this, to be perfectly honest.
I do. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if Abrams undid it and said he was still alive, to be honest, because I didn't like the death.
He just became a Force ghost. You can't say he's still alive. It wouldn't make any sense.
No, you could say he didn't really die. He just disappeared for a second. I honestly wouldn't mind if they went that.
I think that would suck. I really hope they don't do that.
Because I don't know. I heard some rumors that he is going to be more than just the Force ghost, but those rumors could be wrong.
Well, maybe because he's going to be a more powerful Force ghost, like Yoda, who's using lightning.
Set trees on fire.
Maybe Luke is just going to be the most powerful Force ghost ever.
Force ghosts are kind of just there for exposition. That's what Luke shows up in episode 9 like, your lightsaber broken, Ray? Here, take this green one. Says Edward in the chat. I kind of mentioned these two never met each other.
Yeah, this is the first time that they meet.
Oh, shit.
Ray and Poe actually meet is the very end of this movie, which I think is kind of cool. Actually,
Yeah.
I think that it's
although something I complained about last week is that I didn't kind of understand why they had Ray and Finn be apart, but I don't know. They had this connection. I kind of didn't like the fact that they were apart for the entire movie.
I kind of do like that they were apart for the entire movie because I didn't like where they were headed with it, and they could come back together again in the next movie.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the way that Luke was apart from Han and all them in Empire.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think I would have liked them to see them. I don't think The Force Awakens did enough to establish the relationship. So I thought it did more.
I thought it did plenty. I thought their relationship was kind of the centerpiece of that film, as far as any character relationships go.
Yeah, but I think we needed more.
I don't know what else you would want.
Now, a lot of people had issues, and they make jokes and make fun of and mock this scene at the end where the kid takes the broom.
Yeah, I don't know that I really got this scene either. Like why we needed it.
Well, I as I said, I think it's just saying the point is that the Force is not just for a select few; that's for everyone. And that's going to awaken everyone, not just one or two people. And I do actually really like that. But they would need to explain that more.
Yeah.
But I like the concept.
It might be something that J.J. Abrams abandons.
Perhaps. Well, there it is, the movie that ruined everyone's childhood, apparently.
Yeah, I think that I'm probably, before next week, before I see Rise of Skywalker, I may watch this again without us talking over it. But my initial feeling is that I think I agree with you. I think I do like it better. Excuse me, better than The Force Awakens.
Oh, okay.
Both of them today. But maybe not as significantly more as you do. I think I probably like Force Awakens more than you do, but I think
I think you probably do. I'm a bit more down on Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate it. I still think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But I just have I got a lot more beef with it.
And Cardinal Doomsday is bringing up a point. We've actually been discussing on and off all throughout this video. Why the Rise of Skywalker if the Force is for everyone? I don't know.
There could be a way.
I think, well, my theory was it could be both. And I think Rey could still be a Skywalker and still the Force be for everyone. I don't think the two concepts.
Yeah, it's not mutually exclusive. Yeah, they could do them both. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm on a Netflix commercial, so I'm gonna get off of this.
I'm watching the credits.
The credits got taken over by some Netflix commercial.
I know, but if you click on the credits, the Netflix commercial goes away.
6 underground, 6 people, 1 mission.
Edward says we had no idea who the Emperor was in the original trilogy, so I had no problem with Snoke dying without his convoluted backstory revealed. I think you said that earlier. Oh.
We already talked about that, and
I'm at the wrong place in the chat. Sorry, I'm looking at way back there. Hold on.
Okay, I was gonna say
because I have it on 2 windows. Yeah, that's my.
I was gonna say we discussed that a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm just repeating something you said forever ago. Someone's saying, "Have a good night. Thanks for hosting." Yeah, no. Thanks for joining. And all right, so this is what I want. Edward says, if Abrams starts more mystery box BS, I'm going to be annoyed, and he definitely will because that's part of his style of storytelling.
What do you mean by mystery box BS? Like,
well, that's his signature trait. Is he gave this TED talk where he talked about the mystery box. It's like, oh, what's in the point's not what's in it; it's the mystery that's the point. And a lot of people use that against him for Lost because Lost had a bunch of mysteries that were never resolved.
Yeah, which he didn't have anything to do with the ending.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if you saw the Honest trailer. Did this trailer for the trailer of Rise of Skywalker? They call it like an honest teaser.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
You didn't see that? And they were like, oh, we're hoping that Abrams is going to stick the landing. And then they showed like flashes of the Lost finale and be like, oh no, maybe not. But he had nothing to do with the Lost finale.
Yeah. No, that's all on Lindelof and Hughes.
Yeah. And that's, as someone in the chat last week said that, it's like, well, I don't know if we can trust Abrams to land the ending because he did the Lost finale. I'm like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, he was long gone from Lost. He was an executive producer, I think, which is, meaningless. He had nothing to do with it.
He was the money man, basically. Yeah. I mean, he endorsed it.
Yeah.
But endorsing it is not the same thing as creating it.
No, that is all on Lindelof and Hughes, and Lindelof, in my mind, has more than redeemed himself. Hughes has not.
No. Did you ever watch The Strand?
No, I heard it was terrible, and I never watched it.
It had a decent first season, but it then just got terrible after that.
Yeah, I never watched The Strain.
Yeah, so I don't have any faith in Carlton Hughes. Yeah. I know, but Lindelof is the one I complained about more because he was the more pretentious one. But I love him though, and I love his stuff. Even though I do like to complain about how pretentious he is at times.
The Leftovers, and then the Watchmen still needs to have its finale air tomorrow night, but. So far I'm blown away. So I think he's redeemed himself from Lost, and I think people need to stop pinning Lost on J.J. Abrams, or at least the finale of it. He had nothing to do with that.
I mean, he was involved in the pilot and setting up the thing, and so they're setting up all these mysteries that they clearly had no answers to, though.
Right, sure.
But it's not his fault that they never resolved it, but it kind of shows that he likes to set things up. So I talked about that in The Force Awakens, how people are like, oh, Abrams had a plan for Rey's parents. I'm like, no, he didn't. He just set up a bunch of mysteries and hoping the other people would figure it out. That's his style.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is not my favorite style. We'll figure it out later. I prefer it when it is well thought out and planned.
Because he didn't think that he would be doing Episode 9 when he did Force Awakens.
Yeah. I want to address what Harry Solomon says. So Star Wars 9's reception predictions. Well, I think there's always going to be the crowd that is just going to hate it no matter what. I got a comment on one of my, I think on my Attack of the Clones review, actually from an old fan of the channel, Striker 163 or something like that. He's been with me since the Game of Thrones days, and he said that Rise of the Skywalker will make Attack of the Clones look like Citizen Kane, and people are already saying that, and the movie hasn't even come out yet. So I think that, and I don't know how much he was joking.
Wait, Rise of the Skywalker will make what?
He will make Attack of the Clones look like Citizen Kane.
Oh, really? What?
I can't tell how serious he is or anything, but I think that a show still shows that people are already expecting it to be bad, and it hasn't even come out yet. And for those people, I think the film will live up to their expectations. They want it to be bad, it'll be bad.
Absolutely.
So I think that you're always going to have that segment of the population who are going to think it sucks no matter what.
They've already decided that it sucks. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they do.
So I guess the real question would be that will the majority of people find it satisfying? Will those be the minority, or will they be the majority, or will it be like an even split? What would you say about the Last Jedi as far as the reception? Would you say it's an even split, or do you think the naysayers are the dominant force?
No, I would actually say the people who are positive are more dominant. I just think the naysayers are a lot more vocal.
So it's the vocal minority.
I would say they are at best 40%.
Yeah. So the Rise of the Skywalker, I would anticipate it's probably going to be a similar.
Yeah. Well, I predict it's not going to be as bad as Last Jedi. You're still going to have your naysayers, but I don't think they're going to be as numerous and as vocal as they were with Last Jedi, because I think that J.J. Abrams is more of a crowd pleaser. He's more about giving fans what they want.
Yeah.
So it's still a question to me of whether or not I'm going to think it's shameless fan service again, like the way I thought Force Awakens was. But
if J.J. Abrams has ever ruined my childhood in any way, it would be with those crappy Star Trek movies.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Most fans will see it once, but how many will see it multiple times? I don't know. I'll probably see it. I won't see it multiple times in the theater unless it really blows me away, but I'll see it multiple times throughout my life.
I was just thinking of that Simpsons thing with the comic book guy when they had the Cosmic Wars, which is sweeping off the Phantom Menace. It's like, worst Cosmic Wars ever. I'm only going to see this 2 more times today.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that spoof a lot when I was watching Phantom Menace. Sitting around talking in the Senate chamber, and this one of those, like, what do you call those walker things, comes in and goes pew, 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 and Bart's like, oh yeah, something's happening, but then the walker thing just sits down and it goes along with the politics and all that stuff, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, Norman Buckwell says, I won't be surprised if certain naysayers will hit enter with their pre-written editorial with some stuff thrown in within the first hour of the first showing of the premiere day. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, I kind of did something similar with Star Trek Beyond, because I was expecting that to suck balls, and I was like preparing this video is going to rip it apart. But when I found out that I liked it, I changed my mind. But I think a lot of people would not. A lot of people would just not allow their mind to be changed regardless of what the movie shows you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I am. Have an open mind about it. I'm hoping that they do stick the landing. I hope, but I also don't have high expectations. Like, I'm not expecting to be completely blown away. So that if I am, then I'll be very happy, because I'm not expecting to be. But I'm also not expecting it to suck either. So
I hope it's going to be good. I just hope that. But yeah, so I'm not going to predetermine either way. I'm going to go in with an open mind and see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, now I want to go and watch the trailer again.
All right, cool. So we can go ahead and end this discussion here. The movie's over. Give me some fake spoilers ideas. I don't know. Like, I remember Last Jedi first came out, everyone was like yelling about spoilers, how people were spoiling. I didn't see actually people spoiling. I just saw people yelling about the people.
Jar Jar is Luke's grandfather.
So I remember I made up like a whole shitload of fake spoilers for Last Jedi on my Facebook page to see if I could fool anyone. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe Chewbacca turned into a vegan, or I don't know, just weird, crazy shit. But it was quite obvious that I was just joking.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and end this discussion now. Thank you guys so much for the chat, for joining. Apkin, thank you so much for joining for this discussion. It was fun.
Yep.
Talking about this movie, which I think we both agree is a decent movie, a good movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, you want to let people know what you're up to, where they can find you, and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah. So, as far as Star Wars goes, I'm doing rewatches and reviews for all of the films I've posted up to 4. I've got up to New Hope. I've got Empire Strikes Back completed. I just need to upload it, and then I need to finish Return of the Jedi, and then I'll do a review for Force Awakens. And if I have time, I might do a proper review for this film. I don't know if I'll have time to, because I want to have it all done before next week, when the Rise of Skywalker comes out. So keep an eye out for that on Akton Tamko's channel. Also, you should visit me on my channel a little bit later. I need to eat something, but maybe in about an hour or so. I still need to do my Mandalorian Chapter 6 review, and so I'll just do it live. So join me. Give me about an hour or so. I'll be back on live to review Mandalorian Chapter 6. So.
Did you love that episode?
I wouldn't use the word love, but I liked it better than the previous two. I didn't. I'm still. This is what I'm going to say in my review. I'm still struggling with the fact that this is an episodic show, and it
feels like a cartoon now to me. It feels like a Star Wars cartoon, but in live action. So I didn't mind the episode, but I don't think it's the greatest thing ever. Like, I don't know if you saw Darren's review. It was like, this is amazing, and like, I don't think it's that good.
No, I didn't think it was as bad as the previous two. I was very down on the previous two episodes. So, I actually felt, I never said this in my review, but I felt like, because it took me a while to figure out what it reminded me of, and the quality of the previous two episodes reminded me of Xena Warrior Princess Hercules type quality. Not with the visual effects, but with the acting and the characters. And even that one chick in the episode 4 reminded me of Xena. It was just like that. Maybe that was the quality of the thing that I was watching.
Absolutely. Actually, that's a very good point. That's a very good comparison. I totally agree with you.
But I feel like I'm still struggling with the fact that this is an episodic show, and I was expecting it to be like, oh, what's the mystery of Baby Yoda, and let's be somewhat serialized. But I can't. I was trying to think of when the last time I've willingly watched an episodic show, and the only thing I can think of is the old Star Treks, which sometimes are serialized themselves. Like they have serialized stories within the greater show. But I can't think, what else have I watched in the last 20 years intentionally that maybe sitcoms or comedies, but I'm trying to think what I've watched that's not serialized. So I'm not used to watching episodic shows. So I'm just like, I don't know.
Mr. Robot is very serialized.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you were saying, Harry.
Yeah, Mr. Robot is definitely serialized. Watchmen serialized, Leftovers serialized. And when you're in a serialized show, you can do what we call
Black Mirror.
Well, that's different because it's
anthology.
It's an anthology. Yeah. I'm talking about where you have the same characters, but it's a different story every week.
The Expanse is serialized too, Colonel Doomsday. I don't know if that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't mean within the serialized show you can't have what you and I call filler episodes where they kind of sidestep outside of the serialized story, which I think they all do, but it's still a serialized show overall. Whereas this show, The Mandalorian, feels very like it's not just a serialized. After episode 4, I was like, okay, it's a serialized show that took a little filler, little sidestep episode. Then after episode 5, and then after episode 6, okay, this is an episodic show.
Yeah, it's an episodic show, and that does really disappoint me. I was looking forward to a long storyline about Baby Yoda, but instead, Baby Yoda's just there to look cute, while Mandalorian goes on adventures, and that's less interesting to me. I was really disappointed.
Now, Baby Yoda does seem like a merchandising opportunity to me. I didn't necessarily think it was in the beginning, but it's definitely look how cute Baby Yoda is. Buy our merchandise.
But anyway, wrapping this up. So
sorry, I was trying to tell you what to do on my channel. We got sidetracked with
no worries.
But I will be doing my review for Chapter 6. I've given you a little bit of a preview of what I think of it, but I'll go more in depth. And give me about an hour or so on my channel, so go check that out. I'll be live.
Cool. And if my name is Mark, Channel's Enchantment of Eternity, and Harry and Chess is watching season 4 of The Expanse next. I've already watched it. I watched it all in one day.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I think I need to get through Star Wars. I think I will probably really get into The Expanse after The Rise of Skywalker. Maybe I'll start watching it before Rise of Skywalker comes out, but for me to really get into it will be probably after I get through Star Wars. And Mr. Robot and Watchmen, it's all kind of
all coming at the same time.
And then I can really dive into The Expanse after all of that.
So anyway, I have my review for The Expanse episode 1 is already up. I'll be releasing my reviews for our future episodes weekly, even though I've already seen the whole damn thing. I'm still going to release them weekly. So, and I'm going to do book to show comparisons on The Expanse, and my channel is going to be taken over by The Expanse basically in the coming months. But I also have Mr. Robot that I'm finishing up my coverage of that, and a few Star Trek things here and there sprinkled in. So that's what you can check me out on this channel coming up. And of course, I'm going to review Rise of Skywalker, obviously, when that comes out. All right, cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check us out, and we'll see you next time.